Alright. Make sure we're set up the right thing. We appear to be doing okay on that. Make sure this is over here. Make sure this is up here. Which appears to be. Okay, we appear to be live. Woo! Sorry about the delay, guys. I was setting up a couple of things here. Yes, Sonoshi, that is a valid list. It is not a complete list, but it is a valid one. Alright, so... one of the things I was doing when we were off camera is I was thinking to myself, it's like, you know what, Arsh? There's two mentalities in the world. No, I'm kidding. But there's two mentalities when it comes to certain type of things. For example, let's say there's the mentality of, well, because someone else did it, therefore it's okay for me to do it. You know, that kind of a thing. There's also the mentality of, well, just because someone else did it doesn't mean it's okay for me to do it. And of those two mentalities, that's actually relevant here. Because I was thinking, you know, Blizzard didn't give a damn about Ner'zhul. So... why should I give a damn about Ner'zhul, right? I'm just gonna let him rot by the wayside. Who cares about him? Blah, blah, blah. Then I started thinking about it. I was like, you know what? Just because Blizzard doesn't care about Ner'zhul doesn't mean I shouldn't care about Ner'zhul, right? I mean, that's logical, right? And I mean, Ner'zhul was actually among my favorite characters, at least the original Ner'zhul, the one before he got that gosh darn skull. So... rather than abandoning him to the wayside, I thought we'd go ahead and do a little bit of a thing here. And we're going to play a little bit of catch-up today. So, without further ado, I thought we'd go ahead and pull up something. If it'll load. Oh, shoot. I literally just recorded this, like, minutes before starting. Come on. There we go. There we go. So, as you can see, we're now going to go ahead and show off the Shadow Moon Burial Grounds. As you can see, it's a dark place.
Stranger, it is best to turn back.
Hey, Random. Happy Memorial Day. So here we are in the Shadow Moon Burial Grounds. To re-emphasize this, even though I kind of talked about this before, this, you'll notice it really is kind of dark over there. This is a place that used to be the actual, well, the burial grounds, the honored place, honored resting place of the Shadow Moon dead, where they would go to move on to their final rest or become ancestral spirits or whatever it is that it became to be. Regardless of whether they moved on or whether they stayed around as ancestral spirits, there are thousands upon thousands of dead souls within this area. I shouldn't say dead souls, that seems redundant, but souls whose bodies have died.
This was once a place of peace, a place for eternal rest.
Now you notice that thing right there? Keep that in mind. We'll talk about that in a minute. As an aside, I'm being kind of cautious here because we actually don't have a healer for this first chunk of the thing. And one of the monks is going to die like 5 frickin' times. Slowed it down a little bit. Anywho, so this deprivations of this place is actually quite a recent development.
Rivers of the damned, rise. Rise in the name of darkness. Rise in the name of Ner'zhul.
That is
Beckons.
That is Sedana Bloodfury talking there. She is one of the Shadow Moon Arcs, a powerful acolyte who is deeply connected to the lunar cycles. And when the whispers of the Dark Star worked their way into the hearts of the Shadow Moon, she followed her chieftain into the clan's burial grounds, using her power to lure the spirits of the dead for a twisted purpose. Now, I do get the connection between severely shamanistic group and undead. I do. You know, I get how they could convey this whole dungeon as an undead dungeon, but it kind of irritated me because, as I've already explained, the only real reason they did that was because of the whole first Lich King thing. Forgetting that Ner'zhul had plenty of story and character and development that had nothing to do with the undead of the first Lich King. However, I will give, as ever, props to the WoW art department. This place looks amazing and gets off some good visual storytelling in its presentation.
Eternity in darkness cannot escape.
So, that line right there gives a little bit of a hint of what it's like to be in the cold dark. You know, the fate that Arthas is suffering right now, for example. And it's horrible. And it happens to all of these souls here because they are deliberately being called into it to be consumed or to have their energies utilized or, you know, whatever. And I mentioned that because as I was going through here, it made me kind of think, wouldn't it be interesting if Arthas did actually earn his journey to the light and, you know, his eternal rest, and something got in the way and dragged him into the cold dark instead, kind of like these spirits have been dragged into the cold dark. Also, you gotta figure that's gotta suck for an ancestral spirit. I remind you, becoming an ancestral spirit is a willful choice. You can't be forced into it, right? And so, you willingly decide to give up your eternal rest for, you know, centuries, if not more, of servitude in the face of your family and your clan and your people. And then you find one of your clan members, your people, one of the people you swore to serve, has decided to drag you into what is effectively the worst fate that exists in this setting. That's gotta suck. So as you can see, everything here is using void mastery. Every single one of the mobs here uses some form or another of void attacks. And this is probably the first time we really get a new look at the new Void graphics. They've used other kind of graphics in the past to indicate Void, but this is basically, in lore, is the same general thing. It's just a higher resolution, higher definition, you know, more work put into it kind of thing. You know how the Fireball spell has evolved over time. It's a similar concept. So, they're still using Void. It's just a little different looking. They're also enslaving the spirits of their ancestors in order to make them serve them directly, in addition to using them as fuel. So that's nice. By the way, I apologize, I've been having allergy issues today, so I'm trying really hard not to sniffle and snuck on the microphone. So here's hoping. Yes, it is, Venters. What is effectively happening with the green flame is that the Warlock Fellfire is doing directly fell damage rather than fire damage. Obviously that doesn't make a sense in gameplay, but in lore there's a significant difference. It's also mentioned that you're only using a very small fraction of fell power rather than the full tilt thing. Of course, because if you were using full tilt, you probably wouldn't be the PC anymore. Hey, Marley. Because, you know, when you go full tilt with fell power, you end up like Gul'dan, or Archimonde, or Kil'jaeden, or a dozen other examples. I mean, bleh, you know. I think it's the third time that Monk has died already. So there's the, another of those things I mentioned. So what those are chunks of crystal. We don't know if it's actually chunks of the Ashagon diamond, but it's hinted that it is. And they have been specifically carved with runes that were intended to be, call it signposts for the dead. So even someone who died randomly or violently or was killed by the terrain or was killed by some other, group or whatever, is people who die a bad death, in other words, would be able to find their way to the burial grounds thanks to the runes and thanks to the moonstone gathering them here. First boss time, I already told you about her.
Ancestors of the Shadow Moon, shine in the darkness. Lend me your strength.
What do you mean, Dakota? Oh, because Sargeras willed it. Hello, Frank. I like the name. Shoutouts. I'm giving you a nice view of the various souls she's using to empower her abilities here.
Restless spirits, heed my command.
So she does an ability here, which is a pain to deal with in Heroic. So she calls forth one of the ancestral spirits of the Shadow Moon, and then it walks towards her, and if it reaches her, it heals her, like, a lot. In lore, what she's doing is basically consuming the soul of one of her own ancestors. Oh, this is a cool attack. So she calls in an eclipse, and some of the runes become ignited with lunar power, and the others are all death. You'll notice the monk died yet again.
The dead shall rise again.
You remember how we talked about how horrible it must be for someone who screws, you know, a dark shaman who screws over the elements and is doomed forever? No, Dakota, that isn't correct. Demons existed before Sargeras did. Imagine for a moment how screwed you must be if you've been messing with your ancestral spirits, and now you die, and now they've got their slimy souls on you. Anywho, the reason I'm trying to explain this, Dakota, is that Sargeras...
soul will not hear us. He hears only darkness now.
The reason I'm trying to explain this is, and this was actually in the Chronicles book rather explicitly. Yeah, I know, right, Dakota? I had a great group here. I'm glad I didn't do Heroic. Anywho, so the Sargeras found the Burning Legion. Well, I shouldn't even call it that. Found the roaming demons, but they were disorganized and they were a mess and blah, blah, blah. He wanted the Legion to have actual tactical commanders and order and... Well, you know, he thought like a Titan, so he wanted to organize the Burning Legion and set it into a specific path of conquest and destruction. So he sought the universe for a race of beings that could be, you know, intelligent, organized, and be the commanders for his Burning Legion. And that's when he came across the Eridar and uplifted Archimand Kil'jaeden to become, you know, super demons in order to use them for his own ends. Make sense? Hi, Leander.
Your undying souls will fuel my ascension from the darkness.
So that over there is a void horror. His specific name is Nalish. When Ner'zhul tore the fabric of reality and allowed the void to spill into the ritual burial grounds, the malefic spirit Nalish came through the rift in search of souls upon which to feed. Ancient, born of pure darkness, Nalish seeks to devour all life.
Cower before me.
So what he's doing is he's eating souls over there. Now that's horrible and horrific and like really messed up when you think about it. I like how that guy goes and triggers another mob for what amounts to no reason. This group is terrible. Theoretically, yes, Dakota. Since Sargeras could do it, there's no reason other Titans could.
Yes, come closer. Your souls are strong and proud.
But we
I will feast on your terror.
But we got rid of our pride. And our fear, for that matter. Anywho.
None escape the void.
This guy is interesting because this, I think, says something about the nature of how souls and the consumption of souls work. And this also kind of helps to emphasize why the Lich King was absolutely horrible.
Flee from your former master.
What he's doing there is trying to rip our soul out, by the way, if you can't tell. And that's me chasing it down and reclaiming it. Anywho, so... Normal, you know, when the second Lich King used something called a soul grinder, it basically completely destroyed that soul and consumed it to be used as fuel, right? This guy has been eating dozens and dozens of souls. And yet look what happens when he dies.
Into the corpse of a dying god.
Do you see all the souls that got free the moment we killed him? I mention that because it makes me wonder if when someone consumes souls for power, they aren't eradicated, you know, they aren't erased, that it's possible that the soul is just within them, empowering them, rather than cessated, if you will. And we see a couple other times, too, where, you know, once something that has been consuming souls is removed, the consumed souls are let loose. No, demons have basically nothing to do with the Void Lords. The old gods are the only things that come from the Void Lords. Well, the old gods and their various minions. The Void and Fel are actually very, very different from each other, ideologically and in terms of literal physics and metaphysics. That's what I'm thinking, Takoida. This is theory, but this is not the only time we've seen something like that happen. So I think it's a very strong theory at this point. By contrast, you know, something like the Soul Grinder, that gets rid of the soul pretty permanently. It's pulped up and... yeah. Yeah, FF9 did something like that too. Something similar. So this place is kind of cool. Looks a little bit like the Throne of Thunder, but distinct enough that it has its own feel to it. You should do it, Random. You should do it. Isn't 4-Job Fiesta soon? I think it's very soon. I think it's ultra soon. I think it's mega soon. Yeah, so 4-Job Fiesta registration starts tomorrow. I need to leave that up so I remember it. So, you should do it. Totally. I'll probably do it too. I agree, Takoida, in all sincerity. I think Soul Grinder is a tech that we would never use because it's insanely horrifically evil, but at the same time, there are certain creatures where if we could simply eradicate their souls, you know. Yeah, basically, J-Leia. Sounds fun, doesn't it? This is also kind of consistent with one other thing, Frostmourne, which consumed the souls and used them to empower it and its wielder, but didn't actually eradicate them. Whoop. Whoop, are we... we're dead. Yeah, I'm telling you, the visual art, the art design and the art direction team in WoW has never let me down, basically. Same with the music, really. As many complaints as I have about Warlords, neither art nor sound are either of them, you know? I mean, holy moly. This place looks amazing and terrifying. So we're about to fight Bone Maw. Bonesaw is ready! No one? No one? Okay. I'm just giving you a shot of this place. This place looks amazing. It's such a shame that the story of this place is actually kind of lackluster. And, yeah. Honestly, I would argue you get more story out of the visuals of this place than the actual story of this place. So this is Bonesaw, or Bone Maw, Bone Store. No one? Nothing? Okay. Bone Maw. Deep within the caverns beneath the Shadowmoon Valor, the carrion worm Bone Maw has a symbiotic relation with Ner'zhul's followers. The creature feeds on the dead left in the wake of their dark rituals, and in return it serves as a guardian for Ner'zhul's inner sanctum. Which, as I've already discussed, doesn't actually make a huge amount of sense when you really think about it. But, you know, whatever, we're willing to go with it. It's actually a very cool boss design. So, you see those little gobs of gook on the floor? Every now and again it will inhale. I think it's actually happened. Thank you, Frank. I appreciate that. Every now and again it will inhale, right? And, oh, that's true, J-Leia. You're right. You're right. So there it is. He's doing it right here. If you're on the goop, it's so sticky it prevents you from being sucked into him. But if you get sucked into him, well, I'm sure you can imagine what happens next after you're eaten by a gigantic worm. You don't die. It's not an insta-death kind of a thing. But it is quite unpleasant. And on heroic mode can lead to a wipe. And on mythic mode will lead to a wipe. So you gotta avoid that. Anywho. Biggest complaint about WoW in general? That's actually a good question. Do you mean from a personal perspective or a professional perspective? Because those are very different things. You'll notice, by the way, even Bone Maw is using Void-type attacks. I'm not sure if that's deliberate or not, but if it is, and it probably is, given what we're talking about here, that would imply that that creature is... You know how elemental creatures can still be of flesh? That would imply the same thing of Void. And that's not too much of a stretch, because we already know there is such a thing as fleshy Void creatures. The Naraki, for example, the faceless ones, and the old gods themselves are Void creatures. They just happen to have goop on them. So... Well, yeah, my personal biggest complaint about WoW is the fact that it's not a single-player RPG or a co-RPG. Honestly, I would prefer a co-RPG. You know, Divinity Original Sin style. I would love for this to be... There's so much more they could do with that kind of a format, and, yeah, I've kind of made my point clear about that one over the course of the last few months of the Lorerun, so nothing else to add there. Professionally speaking, I think the single biggest problem WoW has is that they are not properly utilizing the potential at their fingertips, and they are not properly supporting things like they should. They need to really push more into several different categories, in my opinion. First of all, I've said it before and I'll say it again, live events. You know, content patches are great, and I definitely want more content patches in the future, but the simple reality is that content patches take a hellacious amount of time and work and effort and all that fun stuff. So, why not have live events? Why not have creative, interactive, this is just for fun mostly, maybe there's some kind of reward for it in terms of valor, or PvP points, or rep, or gear, or whatever. And those things are relatively easy to set up as long as you have the proper client for it. And I don't know if they do any more. They used to. So that kind of a thing would help flesh things out. I'm going to shut up for a second.
The darkness, it flows within me. It seeps from every vein. Come, strangers. Cross into the realm of the Shadowlands. I shall deliver you to your death.
So I take a lot of shots. In fact, I fight this entire fight without the Yui on, just so I can show off how awesome this place looks. This is basically a chunk of the Shadowmoon grounds that has been forced into the Void Realm, into the Shadowlands, as he himself said. It looks amazing.
The Shadow Moon cannot be defeated. We walk in the realm of death itself.
But yeah, so have some kind of live event thing. Make a team who's really trying to flesh out new ideas for the more long-term stuff, notably PvP is a big thing. And I know you're going to look at me weird because I don't even like PvP all that much, but I think they should do a little bit more focus on PvP. Hey, Zawon.
Army of the dead, arise!
This is a fun ability. Basically what's happening here is he's using the animated bones of the fallen to link the souls of those dead together in order to create a field of pure void energy, which hurts like hell if you stand in it. Defeating one of the bones breaks the conduit and makes the barrier so we can get through. It's a bit of a shame. This is actually kind of a boring fight. I mean, it's Ner'zhul, and he has 3 mechanics. The beams, the smack attack, and the cool thing I mentioned earlier. That's it. That's the whole fight right there. It's a hard fight, but still.
Will ripple across eternity.
So that's the Shadowmoon Burial Grounds. Why don't we go ahead and cover some of the things we kind of skipped over, because I bothered to go ahead and grab them here. First and foremost, back in Frostfire Ridge, we never actually went into the Bloodmaw mines and took out the remainder of the Bloodmaw. We already took down the Bladespire ogres, and as we discussed, the Bladespire were one of the offshoots of the Gorian Empire. So yes, that's right, that's an offshoot of an offshoot. Well, the Bloodmaw are in the same category. I'll be soloing this one. I wasn't sure if I could, that's why I recorded it in advance. So this is kind of horrible. I don't know if you can tell, but there's an ogre holding a person over the lava pit. Escape! Slaves who try to escape go to one place. And he tosses him into the lava. So, yay. That's neat. Sort of. I'm sorry, Random. I understand. Yeah, as you can see, I'm just kind of wrecking face in this place. Quite a few blood moles in the area. Quite a few magic types here. And basically every ogre, excuse me, literally every ogre boss in here is actually a shaman, in addition to being, you know, a big, strong ogre of doom. Which I actually really like. Again, kind of emphasizing that whole classism thing they've got going on. Even the ogres here who don't have arcane power, like the proper Gorian Imperials do, here the shamans are the ones who reign supreme. And that makes perfect sense, you know, given their society and given the way they've been going with their culture, and the fact that a shaman can usually draw on a little more power than a warrior can, it makes sense. Especially since, again, a lot of these shamans are also capable of fighting, in addition to being shamans. Now, I miss one critical scene in this, and I apologize. I will describe it as it happens. It's my own fault. I was getting really distracted while doing this, because I was actually watching the little one while recording this. This first boss is called Slave Watcher Crushtoe. He is a cruel ogre taskmaster overseeing the mining operation in the sweltering pits beneath the Frostfire Ridge. Slaves from across Draenor are delivered to Crushtoe's care, who views them as expendable.
Guards! Stop yapping! Start smashing!
Who views them as expendable and will not hesitate to bludgeon them into submission if they step out of line. Yeah, so the ogres in general are pretty horrible slavers. Again, even the offshoot of the offshoots tend to think in that same direction. Killing
My slaves! Those were blood maw properties! Yeah, come here! I'll put you in chains!
Congrats, Draculus. I'm glad you're liking it. So again, you notice how he is an armored ogre, first of all. Not fully armored, but partially. He's wielding a hell of a weapon. And he's actually using shamanistic powers, in addition to being a warrior. Kind of just re-emphasizing my point from earlier. He has this...
Slaves! Fight or die!
He has this interesting mechanic. I found myself thinking about it while we were fighting him. It's like, he sends all these slaves after you, and my first thought automatically was, why don't the slaves help us? They don't like him. But then I realized how many other people came through here who tried to fight against him who failed. Do you want to be the slave who tried to help the rebellion when the rebellion failed? Do you know how much worse things would get for you?
Fight or die!
So it's kind of logical the slaves would join him until we win, and then they flee.
We kill you all for this.
Also, just because I have to point it out, there's Crowman the Barbarian. The icon for him is different. It's a thumbs up. I know you can't see it, but it's there, trust me. So having freed the slaves, Draenei, Frostwolf, there's a few Arakoa, all sorts of species. The ogres don't discriminate, of course. They are equal opportunities enslavers. Yeah, no kidding, Jalea. With the primary slave master defeated, you know, most of these slaves are now free to go and try and have a life. I think it's more of a, you know, I'm sure, the slave rebellion thing as opposed to someone else coming to try and rescue them. Although it wouldn't surprise me if people had come in trying to rescue them like we did, and failed, and then they became slaves themselves, which would also lead towards that whole, you know, we're going to join the slaver side thing. The moment you kill the slave master, they stop being hostile, though, so that's nice. Okay, so you see that ogre down the way there. This is the cutscene I missed. So he says, and I quote, "You make better kindling than worker." And the guy's like, "No, please, no!" And then everything goes to hell here, which is what that explosion just there was. Now this actually is amusing to me, because you'd think shamans would know better. What he did is he just forced a soul into a flame. It's effectively an elemental flame. Do you mean the one from Fallout, Zoan? And so the inclusion of a soul into an elemental fire basically made the fire go completely out of control, and the fire was already kind of out of control here. And so we're going to be seeing a lot of elementals just kind of roaming free over here, because the ogres are failing to keep them in check. Probably because of their own rampant misuse of both their property and of the elements themselves. The ogres do not practice dark shamanism. I point that out because even the ogres, the hideously evil, slaving scumbags, know better than to practice dark shamanism. But they do practice the second form of shamanism, which is binding them to their will. And the elements don't like that much. I also want to show off something here, which is great, and I hope you can see it on the screen. So, as you can see, a lot of the ogres here are on fire and dying or dead. There's also an ogre up there who's dangling from that. And if you'll notice, there's these elementals who are saying, up! Up! It's like little baby elementals, and they hop while they go, up! Up! See? It's just the cutest thing, as they're trying to get up there to consume his soul. Anyways, that's a good question, Zoan. I'd probably go with the ogres, though. Except you're gone, so you didn't hear my answer.
Go away! I will fix this!
So, the ogre geomancers of Frostfire pride themselves on harnessing the elements. Sometimes they overreach.
Stout weakens.
Godu stoked the flames of his forge to new heights, driving Magmalotus into such a fury that it requires his full concentration to keep the raging slag elemental under control. And yeah, what we're about to see is called a slag elemental. I'll talk about that in a moment.
Haha! So weak! Kill him! I will be free! Ah! No! You are but a pebble amongst boulders. I am a rock slide.
So this is a slag elemental. Ogres, Zoan.
To dust.
Quicker, easier death. I'd rather be tossed into lava than deal with Kaiser's Legion. So, slag elementals are fully flame elementals, let's make that clear.
By flame.
But they are much more a Draenor thing than they are an us thing. They're not multi-elementals. It's more like... It's more like these are just an example of how the elements work on Draenor differently than here. Because for them, it's actually normal for them to be kind of combined with other more unnatural things. In this case, for example, a fire elemental that's lived in a forge for so long that it has the slag kind of growing throughout it.
I return to the earth.
Not as, in fact, nowhere near as the one. In fact, it depends, basically. They might hold a grudge, but it's certainly not going to be an internal grudge like a dark shaman would engender.
Bring them to me alive, Rotal. They will fetch an excellent price.
Hi, Metzen. But yeah, whether or not an elemental chooses to seek revenge on you, it probably would seek revenge, it just wouldn't be one of those your soul is doomed for all time kind of a deals. You don't like titanium elementals, Dakota? Or phosphorus? The upcoming thing is, again, a slag elemental called Roltal. A fearsome elemental conjured by Gugrok himself. No, stop. I don't know what I said there that sounded like a Siri. And tethered to the thresholds of his chambers as a final bit of insurance in case of a slave revolt. The fiery creature keeps the eternal vigil in its appointed place, calling down molten rock to repel any intruders. Well, I suppose that depends on the individual Frostmaze, the one. Yeah, what J. Leia said. Excuse me. So this is kind of messed up, really, when you think about it. This is a fire elemental who has been bound to a specific location. You notice he literally has tethers there. So his job is to be there forever. Like, that's his job. He stays there just in case there's a slave revolt or something. In all sincerity, it wouldn't surprise me if what we're doing here is effectively freeing this guy. However, given the whole elements have to die on their home plane thing, there's a line of theory that any elementals we kill on Draenor stay permadead. Because they're on their home plane. Because remember, there are no elemental planes on any world that we know of other than Azeroth, where they were specifically designed there by the Keepers. So, if Draenor is their home plane, then we are perma-killing them. So, that's a thing. That's speculation, though. We don't know the answer to that. These Ogrins suck on Heroic. That's all I'm going to say about that. They hit like trucks. Hey, Darker. Exactly, Takoida. Or at least, I should say, we don't know if anyone have. They might retcon it to say that the Keepers and the various Watchers and whatnot have been making artificial elemental planes on each planet. That's possible. Nothing anywhere ever has ever said anything about that. So, if the Chronicles book, Volume 2 or 3, whatever that would be, says that, sure. For now, though, the only elemental planes we know about are on Azeroth. Also, where's my Chronicles Volume 2, damn it?
It will be a pleasure to break you.
This is Gurok. He was actually born in Hymal. He was at first disdainful of his assignment as governor of the Bloodmaw Mines. Over time, he began to appreciate the merits of operating on the outskirts of the Gorian Empire, with absolute control over his domain and minimal oversight. Correct, Jalea. There is no evidence for or against. We have an absence of evidence. So again, pure speculation. Given the fact that we are very, very certain there was Titan presence on Draenor, it is not out of bounds that they did do the same thing here that they did on Azeroth. We just don't know.
First, I break your spirit. Then, I sell your future.
This reminds me a lot of the Moff system from Star Wars. This is also kind of an example of how screwed up the Gorian Empire is. They pretty much establish their own leadership in their own little small sects, and then they say, do whatever.
The elements hear me and obey!
As long as you toss us tribute, do whatever. Effectively, that makes Bloodmaw a vassal state of the Gorian Empire. Theoretically, that would also make Bladespire a vassal state of the Gorians.
The elements hear me and obey! You will never be free.
Yeah. Screw you. And your face. So that was Bloodmaw. Give me just a second. Yep, maybe. Yep. So the next thing I want to show off is actually... So we're doing things in kind of a weird order here to try and keep this coherent. So we're actually going to show off 2 more dungeons before we finish Gorgrond. The first of which is one that we haven't really done a lot of discussion on, other than the discussion I've been showing as I've been flying around this area. The Overgrowth. We're actually going to be doing Everbloom next. I've kind of already talked about the Overgrowth and how ridiculously insidious it is and how it's the Alliance. But, I'm kind of kidding about that, but I'm mostly not. Yeah, no kidding, J-Leo. I would say about equally to Koida, but it's hard to say since we've had more content in Azeroth to pull from, basically. So I don't actually know if they're simply more relative. As you're their critics, it's their job to be idiots. Anywho, so why don't we go ahead and show off the Everbloom while we're at it here. So this is actually happening in the Overgrowth here, obviously, I suppose. Hang on. There we go. The Everbloom! After the disruption of the Dark Portal, the Kirin Tor realized that to fight the Iron Horde on their own soil, they would need a supply line and reinforcements. Thus, they created outposts all along Draenor that linked directly back to Azeroth. But unfortunately, what seemed like a prime strategic location near the Blackrock Foundry was known to the Botany, or the Botany, as the Everbloom, a sacred place within the Gorgrant woodlands. The outpost was quickly overgrown, but still contains that portal to Stormwind. And I've had some people ask, why the heck does a Kirin Tor outpost have a portal to Stormwind? To which I say, remember, the Kirin Tor, as of this moment in time, are an alliance faction, not a neutral faction. Actually, I have my own method, Darker. I just haven't had time to devote towards it. Thank you, though. I need to do a little bit of establishment first. I don't have all the carry pets I need yet. Well, the Gorian Empire was kind of self-destructing anyways, as all slave-dependent empires will. That's a fairly common constant. Oh, I know, Zoan. I do too. Anyways, but they also, they also were overwhelmed by the superior technology and firepower of the orcs. And in our timeline, they were overwhelmed by the assistance of the Draenei, who helped them to overthrow the Gorians. I don't have a lot to say about the trash here. It's still your usual visual storytelling. It's just stuff I've already talked about. You know, we fight Botany here. I suppose I should talk about the Botany themselves, or the Botany, depending on how you pronounce it. The Botany/Botany are basically the if you've watched Deep Space Nine, they're the equivalent of the Vorta for the Overgrowth. In other words, and they all fell, Darker. In other words, they're the administrators. The Botany are the ones specifically sending out the orders, giving the commands, and tailoring and functioning with the Overgrowth itself to continue to spread it and take over everything in its path. Another parallel I could use is actually the Overlords in StarCraft. You know, they are the supply depots, if you will. We also see lots and lots of infested orcs here, and other various Overgrowth creatures. It's debatable if all of these creatures are pure... Oh, cool, this one. It's debatable if all these creatures are pure plant growth, like this thing we're fighting here, may literally just be a plant that is a function of the Overgrowth. Or it may be a creature that has been so infested by the Overgrowth that it's effectively under the control of the Overgrowth. I don't know for certain. There's a few things we'll be fighting throughout here that are clearly in the latter, and some that are clearly in the former. We'll have to disagree on that one, Darker.
No! He will awaken! We are all doomed.
So here we see the Botany have been trying to work with this one particular ancient, whose name is Witherbark. Witherbark has seen countless cycles of life, death, decay, and rebirth.
We have not yet purified the water.
The upstarts of the Iron Horde and the strange beings that just arrived in their wake are just a new skin on an old snake, and they'll be gone soon, and Witherbark will endure. Witherbark is implied to be basically crazy, as crazy as a plant can be. Basically because he's been deprived of water for a very long time. I'm serious. These guys are... apparently what the botany were doing, we're trying to purify the water so the water would be able to restore Witherbark to a sense of semblance of sanity. But Witherbark, as is just, oh, kill everything. And we'll see that in a bit. I have to admit, the idea of being a severely dehydrated plant is kind of terrifying. The part of the implication here is that when I say crazed, I don't mean crazy like the Joker. I mean literally like a feral animal crazed. I'm not sure which is true. You can make up your own mind on that one. And yeah, I firmly... I mean, the Gorean Empire was so horrible to and with their slaves that, oh my god. clearly indicative of part of their fault. I also tend to like that sound, by the way, as well. You have to really push the keyboard down. I like my current one. It works well with my hands, but, you know. Nostalgia. So the mechanic for this boss is actually kind of neat. So you fight him, and then he goes Vuln. He takes lots more damage from everything. And these water globules come after him. And until he gets enough water globules, he stays Vuln. So you can effectively keep him Vuln forever. In fact, there's an achievement for doing so. And just, you know, try to kill him. Which is actually one of the preferred strategies nowadays. Oh, by the way, we will not be skipping trash because I was the tank, and when you're the tank, you control the group. And I'm sick of that stupidity. I was actually expecting to be kicked for not skipping trash, legitimately. For those of you who don't know, Everbloom is one of the most toxic, and I don't even mean this as a pun, dungeons that exists in Warlords. People are so terrible about it. They will actually insist on you trying to do the 2 skips to avoid trash. A little bit of trash. It's not even a lot of trash. And if you can't do it, you'll get kicked from the group, or you'll be yelled at or pissed at, or they'll just leave you behind. Yeah. Obviously, Vandalia, that's not going to be universally true across the board, no matter what. Goodbye, Witherbark. But regardless, the Night Elves very much look down on both the High and the Blood. The High Elves look down upon the Blood, and the Blood look down upon the Night. That's, of course, generalized, but that's generally how that antagonism works. So if you could skip up that ramp right there as the first skip to avoid them. Oh, it's pretty bad, random. Honestly, there really isn't that much Alliance versus Horde in Warlords either. There's Ashran, one little tidbit in Talador, which is a very minor thing compared to the usual, and that's it. And that makes sense since, you know, we're kind of just finished a war. We literally just declared peace with each other, actually. You'd think that we could keep hostilities down for a bit. But whatever. The second skip, which is the one I'm also not doing, is actually much, much easier to do. Although I've had some friends who have difficulty with it. And again, I'm tired of that whole thing, and just out of a sort of rebellious nature, I decided, screw the skips! We're doing everything, dang it. Really? Ah! Apparently I didn't mute Skype. Sorry. Yep, muted. See, I have to unmute Skype every night, because I chat on Skype, and then I have to remute Skype every morning. Yeah. And now I've lost everything, as I redid everything. Ah, there we go, okay. So, we're about to fight a boss. I think. Yep, there we go. Okay. We're about to fight the Ancient Protectors. Gola and Tilo are a pair of botany who spread creeping growth as they urge the forest to reclaim and swallow the ill-fated outpost in its midst. Guarding them is a terrible brute Dulu, long ago a Blackrock clansman who wandered a little little bit too far into the primal woodlands, who is now quite literally more plant than orc.
The forest closes in around you.
Sorry, guys. Sorry about the Skype noises. I'm usually pretty good about remuting that. I just spaced. I've been very busy both last night and this morning. In fact, a lot of what you're seeing here I recorded last night and this morning in preparation for today. Hey, Grey Wolf.
You will never escape.
These are the two botany bosses. And their fell orc pet. It's actually a fun fight.
You are not welcome here.
It's a fairly simple fight. Basically, you've got a healer caster, which is the guy on the left. You've got a DPS caster, who's also a debuffer, who's the guy on the right. And then you got a big old orc.
Shields us.
Or at least what used to be an orc. Honestly, I cannot blame the Blood Elves for what they did. They had no idea. And they had no way of knowing. It's one of those hindsight things, you know?
The forest shields us. You are warned.
And that wasn't even the beginning of the Blood Elves being crapped on. The Blood Elves got crapped on in many more ways than that. Poor guys. We ended up not doing the optional boss, partially because I realized there's really no reason to do so.
Brings life.
FF6, easy answer, random. Very easy answer.
Return.
I even have already thought about it and how I would do it. FF4 would also make a good TV show, and so would FF5 and FF7. I keep going.
You will be purged.
Congratulations, Zawon. Welcome to the realm of the cool, as opposed to the
I will be renewed.
Besides, in total honesty, if I had a infinite, what I call a blank check scenario, World of Warcraft would be several TV shows. At the very least, 2. So anyways, there's an optional boss here, whose name I don't even remember. Hang on, let me pull up the list here. What is his name? Zeratak, the venomous spider matriarch, which guards her brood in a cave deep in the holes of Gorgrond. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. So it's a big old spider doom thing. I'm going to show off a little bit. You see on the right side of the screen there, in just a second? There. That spider, you know how we've seen creatures that have the overgrowth just kind of growing out of them and kind of consuming them? That's what that spider is. Imagine spiders that have plants growing in and out of them. Yeah, we just kind of crossed into a new realm of creepy there. So these are the Kirin Tor. For some reason, they're attacking us. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, well, because you're Horde. Of course they're attacking you. Come on. I mean, for God's sakes. Well, no. They attack you if you're, regardless of your affiliation, because these guys have been completely infested with the overgrowth. And remember, the overgrowth is not a natural thing. It is artificial. It is intelligent design. So these people are being basically continuously mind-controlled by the botany who are controlling it. And, yeah. Yeah, Zoan. I totally could. Let's not go there, Lurker. Lord of the Rings had something like that too, and I still shudder a little bit thinking about it. Especially given the way they animated the spider, so it looked like the spider was just barely alive, because it was in so much, it was so dysfunctional because of the fungus erasing its nerves. And yeah, Vandalia, I'm a little surprised they haven't pulled that trigger yet, although at the same time it makes sense, as weird as that sounds. But first I want you to hear this voice actress. Because she does a good job of this one.
No, You can't... I can't fight it! Flee! The vines! They control us all!
By the way, this is pretty horrifying. Because she's fully aware and still able to speak, despite the fact that she's being controlled by the plants growing in her brain.
Yes, fire! Fire will burn away the contagion!
Archmage Soul, that's her, was one of the among last
Surely
holdouts of the
cold
expedition.
will make them wither?
But ultimately she succumbed to the plants that took root in her brain.
No! They will take you too!
Perhaps a portion of her humanity remains buried within, but she now lives as a prisoner within her own body. I actually deliberately slowed down the fight so you could hear all her lines.
Get away! Get away! Burn my body. It's the only way to stop them.
That's another of those fates I never wish on anyone. You! Maybe there's still time. The portal to Stormwind is still there. Quick, we must go shut it before the Genosaur gets through. And that's the Genosaur up there. Y'all know. Yalnu is ancient and inscrutable, a Genosaur that was drawn to the Kirintor outpost by strange energies emanating from the bluff. For ages, the Genosaur have battled their eternal foes, the Magnaron, the Gron, the Children of Stone, to a stalemate. But in these emanations, Yalnu sensed a new world, where its kind can flourish and spread unchecked. In other words, the idea that there's nothing over in Azeroth that could prevent the spread of the
portal
overgrowth.
is lost. We must stop this beast before it can escape.
Okay, sure.
We've got its attention.
I appreciate the heads up. Probably
Do you want to
Takoida.
die here?
I got a couple
Move!
of complaints in some of these dungeons because I was watching cutscenes and whatnot. The Darkborn. You're gonna have to remind me right again. What setting's that from?
We are lost. It's pushing us back.
So for the longest time, it bothered me that Stormwind wasn't completely screwed after this. I don't mean like I want Stormwind to be screwed.
The
I mean,
vines are overtaking everything.
the overgrowth is here. In Stormwind. This is our Stormwind right here. So how is the overgrowth not obliterating Stormwind and overrunning it? Then I actually really looked into it and started thinking about it. And I was like, you know what? That actually makes sense. And I'll explain why in just a moment. But, I do want to stress that this is our Stormwind, okay? I've also had some players ask
we are
me,
lost. It's pushing us back.
Arsh, you're a Horde character. Why are you helping Stormwind? To which I smacked them for being stupid. It's the same damn question I was asked in Ubers. Anyways, the reason here... Yeah, this fight is a nightmare on Heroic. It's probably one of the hardest fights in Heroic and Warlords,
Quickly,
I'd say.
draw it towards the flames.
So, this guy... and remember, the overgrowth is not natural. It requires intelligent design. It requires the botany and the Genosaurs. Botany. I'm going to get some consistent about that at
The
some point, I
vines
swear.
are overtaking everything.
It requires botany and Genosaurs and the overall will of the overgrowth in order to spread it. If the plants are just left to their own devices, they don't really do that whole infestation, Borg assimilation thing. They just kind of are plants, and then they can just be, burned and dealt with. And the entire Kirintor are right here,
Look out!
capable of dealing with it. Because, as Darker points out, a dead Genosaur made this huge chunk of overgrowth, but only because botany were there and were able to spread it. And we saw the botany spreading it there. There's no botany here spreading it. So, that's why this was able to be contained, was because, we stopped the Genosaur and then they burned the crap out of this. Yeah, I was going to say, now if the Zanger had come through, we'd be screwed. Because the Zanger doesn't give a damn. Oh, whoops, sorry. Loop there. The Zanger would just flat out be like, I don't know. And we'd be like, oh, no. Oh, well, we're fine. We defeated the giant spore creature. Let's just move on with our lives. And, then we'd be screwed forever. So yay. It's good to know, right? That we came within inches of being screwed forever. Not for the first time, too. That's the funny part. Anywho, now I do want to show off one last dungeon. Two more dungeons here, actually. Excuse me. Oh, the Nightborn. Gotcha. I don't actually know that much about the Nightborn right now, to be completely honest. I've been trying to avoid too much lore and spoilers of Legion, so all I can say is that they exist, and that's about all I know about them. And you know, they were the little sect. Well, everyone does that, Darker, because after all, Warlords is just next door. Anywho, where is my thing? What's this one? That's Shadow Moon. We just did that one. Where in the world? There's that. Probably psychotic. I'm not sure if plants can grow inside demons, but it's worth a try, I think. Where is the docks? There it is. So here we go. Iron Docks. I just kind of wanted to show off the outside perspective of this. Whoop, whoop. And we fell into the flame vent there a little bit. And thus the hero dies. No, I did name them except for the one I literally just recorded, which is the Shadow Moon burial one. So here we are, Iron Docks. This is mostly a fun instance. It's got the cool aesthetic. I absolutely adore the visual aesthetic of the Iron Horde. I really, really do. I want this as armor, I want this as mount, and I want this as my house. But ignoring that wonderful visual aesthetic, the Iron Docks is mostly here for the amusement of the main boss character we'll be talking about a bit. I also want to show off one quick thing, though. See this thing on my left here? I'll show it off a little bit better. Here we go. So this is an Iron Star-powered drill borer with armor in the front. It's a vehicle, so you can push it forward, and it's got just tons of spikes, and it spins around, and it's Iron Star-powered, and it can drill through people and walls and all sorts of fun stuff.
Arrows sing from the sky. They'll be the last thing you hear as I crush your skull.
Just kind of showing off the dock here. So this is a Warsong individual, one of the first Warsong people we've actually fought. And
Start the funeral pyres.
this is a good instance for showcasing the Iron Horde as it should be, aka the conglomeration of the clans. We'll actually see Blackrock, Thunderlord, and Warsong all pretty much equally within this dungeon.
Start the funeral pyres.
Because it's for the Hordes, one. I don't know, dude.
He's near.
I don't have a good answer for that one. This guy that we're fighting right now
Let them have it.
is Notgar, the fierce Warsong war leader. He has risen rapidly through the ranks of the Iron Horde. He now commands a battalion of Orc soldiers. From atop his wolf, he surveys their drilling and preparations as they get ready to lead the assault on Shatrith.
That's it? You barely drew blood.
Oh god, psychotic. Yeah, let's not think about that.
Start the funeral pyres.
So I mentioned how the dungeons and warlords don't really have a lot of lore significance.
You. Death is near.
This is kind of, sort of,
Will burn.
a...
Sir, they've breached the gates. Nagar, he's dead. We should pick up anchor and set sail for Talador right now. Calm yourself, Sogash. We will do no such thing. If these weaklings are so eager to die, then we should oblige. But, sir, this is the last of the Grom that we have. Blackhand will have our hides if we show up empty-handed. Sogash, do not question my authority. This isn't just any Gron. This is Skulak, son of Gruul. The blood of a champion courses through his veins. I'm not concerned with these paltry whelps. Yes, sir.
Notice the incredible lack of logic in that orc's voice. Don't worry, that's not bad writing, that's deliberate. It's kind of emphasizing how the Iron Horde... the policy of letting the best warriors rise to the upper echelons of rank is probably not the best of ideas. There are very, very few leaders of the Iron Horde. In fact, I can think of 2 off the top of my head who are actually intelligent and good leaders, as opposed to just being good warriors. And both of them happen to be Blackrock. Anywho, so this dungeon and the next one we'll be showcasing both are part of a plot thread that was basically abandoned, and we'll talk a little bit more about later. It's the invasion of Shatruth. And there was supposed to be this overall thread going throughout... Good morning, Azura. That's terrible. There's this overall thread supposed to be this overall thread going throughout Gorgrond, and they kind of abandoned this, as I mentioned. And it was supposed to be the primary plot arc of Talador, and it was also abandoned there, of the Iron Horde basically preparing for this massive invasion of Shatruth. So these dungeons are kind of a hold-off from that abandoned storyline, because this is them preparing the fleets and their super dreadnoughts, which I mentioned earlier, the Iron Star dreadnoughts. And yes, by the way, these are massive Iron Star bombs we're wiping out Ogryn in one shot for here. Yeah. Anywho, and the next dungeon is also specifically about an invasion force that is prepping for the assault on Shatruth. I could have seen that, yeah, Vendala.
Ah, would you look at that? Maybe I underestimated them. Zogosh, prepare Skolok. Let them have a taste of what he has to offer. Igniting the cannon, sir!
That's right, he shoots heated shot, which I've talked about a little bit before. Heated shot is actually pretty horrible. I can withstand this, so I'm just going to stand here and let you see what it looks like when he does his bombardments. That's the Gran artillery we mentioned before.
Fire! Aim, then fire!
Yeah, Peter, it's a common bug. I'm surprised anybody noticed that. But yeah, that's a fairly common bug. I see it almost every time I do this place. Okay. Love the music in here. The next series boss is the Grimrail Enforcers, elite mercenaries in the employ of the Blackfuse Company, hired to protect the trains, that's our next dungeon, that run through Gorgrond and the trio consists of a Burning Blade swordsman, a goblin engineer, and a shaman who is versed in blood magic. The sole thread that binds them is greed. Oh, and a zeal for killing. Also, what's with all the flooding? My goodness.
What is wrong with you? Keep firing, you oaf! Sir, he's out of ammunition! I'm reloading! I'm reloading! Ah, forget it. They'll never make it past the tracks. Mako, Garriok, front and center. There's some new meat for you to tenderize.
Right away, Captain.
Oh, excuse me.
It will be my pleasure.
Ha! Ditto!
Ooh, is there killing to be done? Let me at him.
Azure, have you seen Back to the Future 2? Little pizzas, you know? I don't have an answer for you on that side. I mean, that's not true. I do have an answer for you, but it's speculation. I don't have a real answer for you. And there's actually have 2 speculations. The first speculation is the obvious one. Art design.
You better step back. I'm calling in the bomb squad.
In other words, that maybe they just changed their mind on what the Ogryn should look like. And personally, I do actually like the new Ogryn design better. But, yeah, the problem is there's another answer to that, and we actually hear this from a troll. So here's the thing.
No! None shall possess my potency.
No, see, the things that are the Ogryn in Outland are called Ogre Lords, and they make a point of saying that all the Ogryn were wiped out. So they try to differentiate the Ogryn from the Ogre Lords, even though there's really no reason to do so. And they could have just made them be the same race, and...
You better step
yeah.
back. I'm calling in the bomb squad!
Malgar is a good example of what we're talking about.
Oh, I'm hit!
By the way, this guy is a member of the Burning Blade. It's another example of that whole multiple clans thing being present here. Oh yeah, and this is me watching after Jaina for a little bit. Come on. There we go. Back to the game.
You will burn!
We'll talk a little bit more about the Burning Blade when we get to Nagrand. It's a better place to talk about them. We'll also be talking about them when we go through the Foundry.
This is far from over. Sir, half of our army's been taken out. Don't you think we should... That was an insignificant loss. Let them exhaust themselves praying against our weak, against those who are unworthy of serving in Black Hand's army. Blood and honor, Zogash. That is all that orcs understand. Ah,
You...
good thinking, sir. That is what I do, Zogash. I think good.
That's odd. Well, anywho. I really don't know why that didn't permit you. Anyways, yes, so these things are called Ogre Lords. The things that that was just linked there. I really don't know why they decided to separate Ogre Lords and on Ogren. Really, I don't. I completely missed it in the midst of that. I'm sorry. I need to rewind that because that's like the best quote in the whole game.
Those who are unworthy of serving in Black Hand's army. Blood and honor, Zogash. That is all that orcs understand. Ah, good thinking, sir. That is what I do, Zogash. I think good.
That's like the best quote in the whole game right there. That is what I do. I think good. I love it. So, what do you mean, Venters? Because obviously, the goblins came through as part of Raytheon's support, and there's only one troll, to my knowledge, that's not that's on the Iron Horde side, and he's a rare Nyada boss, whose name I don't even remember right now. But yeah, that guy. Once again, we see how the Iron Horde leadership is terrible. I mean, just absolutely terrible. I find myself wondering if the Iron Horde had real, legitimately intelligent, tactical, and strategic commanders. I would be very curious just how screwed up we would be and how screwed we would be if the Iron Horde, with all its military might and all the resources and all the technological military power they have and all the focus they had, if they had actually good leaders, holy crap, you know? Here, let me try 4711825. Correct, Zoan. They called them Ogre Lords. Why is it deleting? I gave you permission. Why is... I'm so confused. No, Nightbot's not even in. You can see for yourself. Nightbot's gone right now.
Captain, they're almost here. What do we do now? I'm not playing these games anymore. Bring in the saber on and we'll be done with it. Are you sure you want to let that thing out of its cage? I don't think we've fed it since we found it. Put a muzzle on it. Good idea, sir. I didn't mean the cat.
This is Oshir, a savage predator who prowled the spires of Arak. He was feared, respected within his pride. He fell when to a Thunderlord snare and was brought to Gorgon to be broken and trained as an Iron Horde combatant. Not a day passes that Oshir does not dream of tasting his captor's blood. He's actually pretty strong for a Saberon. Maybe it just didn't last long enough. I'm gonna do another permit. Don't post for like a good, I don't know, 10 seconds after the permit, okay? And let's see if that changes anything. Because both of you posted like this second it went through. This is probably the most lore-relevant Saberon we encounter in the whole game. I'm not kidding. The Saberon have so little lore. There's so little to talk about here. They're big, they're violent, they're strong, they're beastly. They eat people. He's eating me right now. They're eating her. And they're going to eat me. Oh my god. That super slashing, rending, lunging attack he does is probably one of my favorite attacks of his. I keep thinking about turning that into an ability in one of my games, one of my tabletop games. Well, see, the thing is, everything lore-wise about that guy that could be said, Darker, you just said in that one sentence. There's just so little lore to the Saberon. The Saberon were not in BC, and they were one of the many races that were wiped out by the shattering of Draenor, yes. Hey, Formosan.
How dare you march into my docks and so brazenly set foot on my ship? Nothing will stop the Iron Horde, least of all you. Enjoy your death, weaklings. Zogash, man the machine turret. Aye, aye, sir.
So this is technically a fight against Skullock. Yeah, Magister. Thank you. I am actually in tank stance, if you'll notice. Couldn't do this as a DPS. The mighty Gron represents...
Talador, no! I will avenge you!
One of the greatest successes of the Iron Horde's subjugation of the Gron. Towering over the Gromkar forces, fitted with a pair of cannons that would feel home on a warship, Skullock stands ready to unleash devastation at the behest of his new masters. And he has this attack. You know, you remember this from earlier. This is actually another example of good gameplay design that they do here. They actually kind of tutorialized this boss, not in the trash, but in the approach to him, which I think is pretty cool. I love unarmed attacks or claw attacks or whatever. Always have in like every game ever. In fact, for the longest time, I wanted to make a pure UA warrior, and in fact, I succeeded at that once with the claws you get in oh, what's it called? There we go. Or no, that. The claws you get in the PvP stuff, the Alliance ones that look really, really cool. You probably know what I'm talking about. Because they look cool. Damn it, rule of cool overwhelms all. This time I just completely ignored it, because I can tank this. Yes, this is a literal organic tank. This is why I say the idea of putting artillery on the back of Gron was actually a really good idea. Agreed, Peter. Like I said, the game design aspect of Warlords, as far as dungeons and raids, is pretty top-notch, at least in my opinion. Obviously, people disagree with me on that. And I just wanted to get a nice shot of the actual Dreadnought here. This is one of many Dreadnoughts they have, one of which is going to be coming out in as soon as we get to Talador. But first, you saw that train that left earlier in the middle of the thing? We need to go rush after that train. So we need to do what most people consider to be the best dungeon in Warlords. That would be cool, Magister. I'd use that ability. I don't know, Psychotic. I don't think I've ever done that. So the name of this dungeon is actually the Grimrail Depot. It is a vital hub in the Iron Horde war machine. It allows for the transit of troops and material produced by the Foundry to the front lines of the war being waged across Draenor. The depot's namesake is the Grimrail itself, a massive train that can bear an entire battalion of troops and artillery. On this particular day, the Grimrail has been fitted with a massive railgun powerful enough to shatter the shield protecting Shatrith. And it's just about to depart. Dun dun dun! So we're here to stop that before they go after Shatrith. Yes, Vendalia, absolutely. I would put 100% certainty on that. So this group was kind of fail. I'll just be honest with you. I screwed up a bit too, so, you know, I'll own up to that. But, I know, Darker. But technically, they should be crisscrossing all over the place. There's two reasons I really like this dungeon. And there's one reason most people really like this dungeon. And that reason coincides. Basically, the visual aesthetic of this place, and you'll see what I mean in a bit, is pretty neat. That being said, I really enjoy the boss mechanic of both the first and the second bosses of here. So, third boss is really, really boring, though. Don't like the third boss at all. Notice how they've got multiple Iron Star bombs here, by the way. Quite a few of them. I can't even imagine getting gold in challenge mode in this place. Of course, I haven't had a full 5 group in any of Warlords to be able to even try challenge mode, so I have no idea what Warlords challenge modes are like. I haven't even done Warlords Mythic because I don't have a group. This is why I keep bringing up that co-RPG thing. You know, I have one other person I could do this, or maybe 2 other people in a pinch. I don't have 4. Or 9. Or 19. That's me getting lost.
Where do you want this box?
Over there. Why do you keep asking? You always move the boxes from here to there.
This is Railmaster Polly Rocketsmart,
this boss.
Chief Foreman of the Grimrail Depot. He's been enlisted by Garrosh to build the technology required for the Horde's infrastructure. Given his dim-witted assistant Borka, who does the heavy lifting, Rocketspark has been setting about building the Grimrail across Draenor.
All systems online! Fire!
Because it's very grim. I don't know, Taqueta.
Don't get in my way!
So basically what's happening here, I know it's not super obvious, is every now and again the goblin will get up on the stacks of supplies. And you can't hit him. And so he just starts blasting you from up there, from safety. What you need to do is to knock him off there, and periodically the big guy has a charge attack where he just hits whatever's in his way. Both of these attacks were kind of hinted at in the trash leading up to this boss as well. In Heroic, you have to balance out the damage, because if you kill the big guy while the goblin has too much health left, then you're probably going to wipe. Because in the goblin's second phase, he just does ever-increasing damage very, very rapidly, and it's usually pretty difficult to kill him, at least in the groups I've done it in, before he kills you. And yes, that is an orc that was chemically altered to be a dire orc by the Bleeding Hollow clan. Who, to my knowledge, are the only ones other than the Fel orcs, you know, Gul'dan's group, who have the ability to do that on Draenor. Basically, all of the Black Fuse company is in the Iron Horde, Vandalia. There's actually quite a few. To be completely blunt, if not for the inclusion of the Black Fuse, the Iron Horde would have never gotten nearly as advanced or built nearly the infrastructure they did, especially not as quickly as they did it. Most of the foundries and the bases and the other, you know, and the trains and the railways and the ships, all that was pretty much at the behest of the goblins, or built by and serviced by the goblins, not by the orcs. My friend Pax and I used to play a game. What happens in the incoming mini cutscene depends on what order your group is in, which kind of is random. So anytime Pax and I would do this dungeon, we'd kind of have this bet as to who would be the sensible one and who'd be the crazy one. I'd actually say Venture Company is probably worse. Black Fuse are just, you know, mercenaries, pure mercenaries. Venture Company are stupid evil. There's a difference. And Venture Company actively tries to sabotage and destroy things, even while they're trying to exploit them, whereas Black Fuse is just building up the Iron Horde's might. So, in the upcoming cutscene, the main character's like, basically we're going to jump on a train. One of the characters always says, "No, that's crazy!" and one of the characters says, "We should jump on the train." So one of them's crazy, and one of them's sensible. And in this case, I believe it's actually the tree who was the sensible, the sensible one. Because the train's about to take off, and the Tauren there's like, "We should jump on," and the tree's like, "No, no, that'd be crazy," and I'm like, "Yes, crazy." I'm surprised they didn't yell at me for that. So this is pretty much the reason why this dungeon is as liked as it is. The train section, which actually is a little less than half of the dungeon overall, depending on your group makeup and your capacity. I'd say, I guess actually basically a half of the dungeon. This trash is pretty mean on heroic, by the way. And they're all a lead up to the second boss here. We had a hell of a time on the second boss because I was in a group of idiots. So this is pretty cool. I'll show it off a bit more in a little bit. I did that once, Venters. By accident, obviously. See you around, random. By complete accident, I did an extra pull with Barrage. And we actually managed it. But, whew. Yes, but that's the Iron Horde, not the Venture Company. You asked if the Black Fuse was worse, and the Black Fuse are just guys doing a job. The Venture Company are people actually trying to ruin everything.
They are here. Get up!
So the second boss is called Nitrog Thunder Tower. He has a zeal for flame and explosives. Nitrog was a natural fit for the mechanized and weaponized army Garrosh's plans brought to Draenor, and he's risen quickly through the Iron Horde. He oversees the artillery on the Grimrail, and is eager to break through the defenses around Shattrath and conquer the enemies of the Iron Horde with him.
Formation, now!
This room right here is hell. It's 3 groups of difficult trash. By the way, I don't even have item level 700 on my main. I'm 693, I want to say. Pretty much full LFR gear. HFC, I should say. And the legendary ring, of course. Oh, I agree with you, J-Leia. And the Black Fuse Company are certainly bad guys, but I would still call them
Come
Venture
on,
Company worse.
swines! Move like you signed up for this!
Really, Stukov? Ouch. Of course, I can't say anything. As you notice, my health is not moving on these guys. Because I actually know how to tank.
Ready!
How would I use it? Are you kidding, Zoan? I would use that constantly. Like, I don't even know how to explain that. I would use it for everything, all the time, always. I would reload meal choices. I would be pretty careful about saving, though, if I only have one slot. It's possible to have an unsalvageable save, after all. So, we're going to show off the whole moving train mechanic just a little bit better in a moment here.
Who dares challenge me?
Conscription, J-Leia. But yeah. So this is actually a really neat bit of gameplay and story integration. This orc's actually kind of pathetic. He has very low health, and he only has 1 attack. So you think, why is this guy a boss? Well, he's not really the boss. Basically, the train is the boss. So here we
Let
are.
'em have it, boys.
I can finally really show off the moving train aspect. You can't quite tell, but there's this constant pushback of the air on this outer area. which is shoving me back.
I've
Literally.
got my sights on you.
Literally none of my group in this group actually knew how to pick up the items, so I did all of this fight effectively solo, not counting
Give
me.
them all you got.
Yes, I know it's the one. I caught that. I have one slot. I get it. I'd still use it constantly. I mean, hell, the most obvious answer of the lottery comes to mind immediately. Do you know what I could do with millions of dollars? Do you know how many people I could take care of with millions of dollars? So yeah, you notice they're not even going behind the pillars for the barrage thing, because they don't know how barrage works. I remember that map, Dakota.
Let them have it, boys.
Personally, I've always thought the highest difficulty is the cannon thing.
Let them have it, boys.
Especially the raids, the mythic difficulty and heroic difficulty and whatnot. So yeah. You can hop in these things, you get this one ability called the Shredder thing, which is great. You're actually supposed to do damage to the cannon, that's what actually advances the boss. You get these grenades. No, they just run from it, Darker. I'm telling you, this group was not great. It's okay. I covered their asses the whole fight.
I've got my sights on you.
Yes, I do know that, Ventures. Unfortunately, I'm soloing the entire fight, so I gotta run all over the place picking up stuff. Nice, Chef Lorerun.
I've got. Let them have it, boys.
I don't have much lore to share about this boss. I don't want to share one cute thing. So if you're wondering how they're accomplishing the moving train mechanic, it's just very, very careful graphics manipulation. What's actually happening is the train is static.
Let them have it, boys.
The train isn't moving at all. In gameplay, or in mechanics, in the code.
Let's take this down to your level.
What they're doing is they have a looping terrain. It's actually a fairly large loop, too, so it's hard to notice the repeat unless you're watching it for a while. And this looping terrain is moving through you, basically, or around you, while the train is actually static. And they have a couple of effects that make it look like the wheels are turning and the sparks are flying off of it. You know, stuff like that.
Try.
So, it's a neat way they accomplish this, and I personally think they did a great job of the illusion of the moving train, in just my opinion. Honestly, part of the only reason I know about that illusion is I actually, during the beta, got into a bugged version of this instance where I was able to leave the train, and I could roam around and fly. I could literally fly around the train, and then as I'm flying around, I look back, and I could see the terrain doing this, and looping a bit, you know, because when you're zoomed out a bit and you're like a half a mile away from the train, you could see the terrain doing this as the train is standing there. It was really cool looking. I took a few pictures of it, I think. Not sure I still have those. Betas are fun. They even do shadows pretty well, which is easy to do, actually, in this circumstance. Now, this is the really boring boss. This is Skylord Tavra, also known as Sindragosa 2.0. Before the rise of the Iron Horde, Tavra had never ventured beyond the frigid tundra of Frostfire, where she'd led groups of Thunderlord trackers to snare and capture the fiercest Rylax on Draenor. Her mastery of Rylax has made her an invaluable asset, and now she commands the aerial forces of the Iron Horde. I guess the entire aerial forces? I'm not really sure on that one. And as you can see, what's happening in lore here is we're traveling through Gorgrond down to Shatrith. Because remember, in lore, Gorgrond is huge. As opposed to a relatively small zone, because MMO scale. MMO size and MMO time. What are you going to do? By the way, that whole,
Nobody stops the Iron Horde! Nobody!
You know how I've talked about how much I wish they used the proper scaling mech tech in order to make it so you can have, like, 3-man raids, for example? And I know a lot of people disagree with me on that, and that's fine. But that also,
Let's give them hell!
that also applies rather significantly towards things like, say, challenge modes, because I can't do challenge modes. But if I could do it with 3 people total, I could probably actually do challenge modes and mythic dungeons and all that. So this boss is super boring. She's got a lot of mechanics, but they're all super easy to bypass. She puts random lightning on the ground. Whoopty crap. She'll occasionally freeze you if she'll put down a frost trap, which is super obvious, and then you get frozen in it. And then periodically she will do this, like she'll fling her spear in a direction, and it'll hurt like hell anything it hits. That's it. That's the boss fight. And yes, Stuka.
Show them what you're made of.
Hey, Salty. Cosmodon, I don't know. I mean, even a single-player game still has limits on how big it can be. See Just Cause 2 for a good example of a fairly large game, which nevertheless is still much smaller than it should be.
Another one!
But if you played Just Cause 2, think one of the major islands in that game, and that would probably be about Cosmodon size. Ideally, of course. That's in a fictional scenario where Operation Bellhammer is succeeded. So how many of you even remember there's a cutscene after this, because you usually skip it out of habit?
Can.
Remember, our whole purpose here in lore is to take out this train because it's going to go assault Shattrath. With troops and reinforcements and doom guns and all that fun stuff. And there's the massive cannon of doom. Crash. It's okay, we lived, jumping from an exploding train. We did it, guys. We did it. We saved Shattrath. I'm sure the Draenei will be super grateful. Unfortunately, I can't show off this wreck like I would like to, but it's pretty cool looking. Also, the Iron Core is here for some Iron Star technology that later on Khadgar will want, because Khadgar is... what's the word? Oh yeah, crazy. So with all that done, with the train stopped, and with the Iron Docks defeated, we have bought Shattrath precious time. It's time to go deal the final blow to the Gorgrond forces of the Iron Horde.
Speak. Strength.
Well, it's mentioned that the ocean trip usually takes days or weeks in lore. In fact, the original trip from that Thrall and the Trolls eventually took from the Eastern Kingdoms to Kalimdor took, I want to say, 3 months in lore. It was a big journey. As it should have been. I mean, come on, you're crossing an ocean. Even nowadays, that takes some time on a ship. Also, this is the mount that is store-bought, blah, blah, blah. I've kind of already talked about it. I just wanted to show it off a little bit in action here. This is what the thing actually looks like. It's basically a Reaver that flies with a much higher definition scale to it. And, of course, it's got a laughing skull on it. I've kind of already shown off the foundry. So I'm just showing off how awesome it looks there. Can I make that my house? That is true, Takota. They had no idea where they were going. As I mentioned, nowadays it takes more like, I want to say like 5 days to travel. I think it mentions it specifically in the Gilnean short story, how long it took them. It was around a week, I remember that. Whoa, now I'm way over here for some reason. Oh, whatever.
Our power comes from one another, for the honor of the clan.
The Iron Horde have no idea how much potential lies within the artifact. Let's give them a proper demonstration, shall we? There's Gawk, son of Gruul.
There it is. There's my artifact. How foolish of me to trust Brack with something so valuable. It's a shame that you're too late to stop me. Surrender the artifact, and I will allow you to escape with your lives.
Really? That's your deal?
We will never surrender to you. Champion, now is the time. Use the artifact.
The artifact summons a Magneron.
So be it. Iron Horde, advance!
And he does this impaling attack, and it's pretty horrible when you really think about it. I don't know, Master. I've talked about that before.
Grunlings, attack!
Oh shoot, I just realized I still have the music turned way up. Sorry, guys. I turned it up earlier because I was enjoying the Storm Peaks music while I was doing some stuff. Yeah, this is basically the same thing, except it's Yodel completing another step in her journey of the hero's path here on the Alliance side. Whereas here, there's really no character development for anyone, which is a bit of a shame. But what are you gonna do? One thing the Iron Horde in general tend to have, and I feel this all boils down to Blackhand's own strategy, the way he thinks, is a destroy it now, rebuild it later philosophy. I tend to view that philosophy as wrong. Oh crap, oh crap. Iron Star. Iron Star. I tend to view that philosophy as just plain wrong. But it is worth noting there is a genuine tactical reason to approach things with the destroy it now, rebuild it later mentality. It'll never happen to Cody. I've been calling her Yodel forever. That is now her name for all time. I think now's a good time to blow this. Hey, Craze. What's up, dude? Welcome to me about to die. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, I actually die regularly on this quest. Seriously. I do. I overextend myself, basically. Yep. Rez. Rez. Why can't I fly? Flying mounts. Ah, there we go, okay. Well, there are a couple Vandalia. For example, there's stockades on the Alliance, which the Horde never completes in lore. And then there's Ragefire Chasm, which the Horde completes in lore, but the Alliance never does. But all the other ones have at least some excuse for the other side to be there. Like Nomargon, Dead Mines, Wailing Caverns. You know, all those have a reason for the other side to be there.
No! I will die before I let you take what is mine. You will not win this war! Ah!
The artifact! Has he gone mad? We must restore it. We must get it to safety.
See what weapons I have in my arsenal.
I like how he's like, aha, you're so overconfident before, but now you don't have the artifact.
Release the
might
Iron
of the Horde
Stars!
is within you. Loktar Ogar!
Yes, full day today. Yeah, the excuse is pretty cheesy. Like, the Nomargon excuse is just really... Same with Dead Mines. Still. Ragefire and Stockades are the only ones that have no excuse at all. SFK is another good example of a place that has an excuse.
It is over. Their defenses are shattered. We have won this battle, but without the artifact, we have far to go. Let us rally back at your garrison, Commander. We must plan our next course of attack.
Well, okay. I'm out! Right, I can't fly because I'm technically in a scenario right now. I do like the no-load zone technology they implemented in Warlords. They do that with the garrison, too. You're technically entering a instance every time you go into the garrison. There we go. I shouldn't say technically, you are entering an instance. And they have this distance loading thing to it, where they'll basically soft load the instance when you're on approach, so you still see your garrison, even though you're not actually in the instance yet. It's a neat little feature. Sorry, I know you want me to not fly as a one, but that would literally just add time here, where I'd just be sitting here whistling. Hell, I'm still doing that anyways. I can't whistle. One of the other features they added, which I actually like, is the fact that at each of these outposts, there's actually a garrison control table, so you can keep doing garrison stuff without being in your garrison. In other words, not restricting you from just sitting in your garrison and doing nothing. You can do it while still going out and questing and all that fun stuff. Trying to get you out of the garrison, in other words. Hello, Braven.
Welcome, friend of the Frostwolves. Make us proud.
I think you're right, Magister. So, like, here's what I mean. So we can just control followers and stuff here. Which is, you know, neat. Like I said. Alright, but now it's time to go back to our garrison! Because I know you guys just can't get enough of garrisons. There's one other thing they did very right with garrisons, and it's a damn shame, because it's simultaneously something they did very wrong. Garrisons feel a lot more alive than most other cities in this game, not counting other people. This is one of those reasons why, if this was actually, you know, a single-player or a co-RPG, it would kind of fit better, because there's NPCs wandering around, they have little cycles and events they'll do, sometimes they'll interact with each other, sometimes they'll go chopping wood, or sometimes they'll go just talk with each other, sometimes they'll attack each other to, you know, because, you looked at me the wrong way, or whatever. Sometimes they'll throw snowballs at each other. As you can see, we get random NPCs throughout the course of the campaign we get here. It feels very alive, and they did a lot of tech under the hood to make these make the pathing and make the AI vector so that these guys would feel like they were actually in a city. And that's great if this was actually the capital city, you know? If other players were here in addition to you. If it didn't feel like just you plus NPCs. So, like I said, very right and very wrong at the same time. This is Khadgar's servant giving a tour of your garrison. I love this, because this is a callback to BC for that horrible, awful, awful quest. The worst escort in this entire game. Which is when you had to follow around Khadgar's servant throughout Shattrath to be thrown around. It takes like 10 minutes. It's ridiculous. And you have to go through it, otherwise it despawns. But of course, he's giving, you know, these guys a tour of the garrison, and that's a nice callback, and I like that. This is the beginning of the legendary chain. We're going to go ahead and pick that up. We'll be doing most of that on camera, though. Oh, sorry, Dakota. How dare other players ruin my game? Was that good? Yeah, that's great.
You come get the voodoo.
Welcome back, man. The Iron Horde have proved themselves worthy foes. No, they haven't. They managed to get their fleet moving to Talador from Gorgrond without my spies seeing a thing. Talador be a crossroads for the whole continent. We can't let him have it. Oh, don't worry, boss man. We got a plan. Foreman Grobosh be setting up an outpost for your forces as we speak. They'll be ready for you when you arrive, Commander.
be seeing ya.
And now we get to choose. Now this one, unlike Gorgrund, this doesn't really change the overall quest arc that much, but it does change the quests we do. Poll open. So this is going to be your guys' choice again. Which building should we construct in Talador? And our options will be the Arcane Sanctum. Depends on my character, Vandalia. Or the... I forget what the other one's called, actually. What's the other one called in Talador? You can tell which one I do normally. It's like the smithy or something. Isn't it? Shoot, I don't remember. This is going to bother me now. Well, it's okay. We've got something to talk about. So let's go ahead and head down there. And I'll figure out what it is. No, the inn is in Spires of Eric. Or Spires of Iraq, if you prefer. It's something smithing related, because we get tanks out of it. We'll just say artillery. Artillery. And we'll leave this up for 10 minutes, so... So there you go. And we'll leave that up. Hey, Valvadrix. So feel free to vote. We have a little bit of stuff to discuss before we really get started anyway, so I figured this will be a good time to get that vote done. Oh my goodness. So terrible. I actually normally do the artillery thing. I just couldn't think of the name of it. So this is Talador Forest. You may recognize this as Terrakar Forest. That's the equivalent here. The trees are roughly equivalent, other than the fact that they're no longer infused with horrible, nightmarish death. Before we do anything, I want to show off something that you can only really show off from the air. Actually, that's not a bad idea. First, we're going to do something else, though. Well, see, I have a character named Valvaxis. Right there, actually. And this is a character in my overall written works, too. And you're Valvadrix. And so I keep wanting to call you Valvadrix.
Let me out of this thing!
And that's why I keep stuttering over it.
Traveler.
So, in case you've ever wondered why that is, that's why. So this is when we start to see a little bit more about the Draenei. We are introduced to the Arakoa. And then there's the biggest abandoned plot thread in all of Warlords. And we will be talking about that. And how incredibly stupid it is. And how much I want to slug everyone involved with that whole process. As you can see, the Iron Horde have already made significant gains. They've even set up temporary ballistas here. Oh, at least... wait, an HD 3000? I'd just say 60. Well, Valvoxis... Well, I'll talk about that later, Kay, especially since you don't actually care. So this is Shatrith. Now, credit where credit is due. Shatrith actually looks like a city. Look at this place. It's huge. And it's awesome. Copyright strike. No, I'm kidding. So we've got this massive city, and it's got tons and tons and tons of cool stuff, and basically no content. This is effectively just a daily hub that has one actual lore quest chain that goes through it. And that lore quest chain literally just kind of snakes through it and then leaves. Look at this place! And then, of course, there's the Shatrith proper. Now, originally, this was supposed to... It was going to be... Later on, there was going to be a content patch that enabled us to go into Shatrith. Now, if you don't know what I mean by that, allow me to explain a little bit. Some people have looked at this place and said, this looks nothing like Shatrith. And it is varied. That is absolutely true. But the way the devs and the art team themselves have designed it. Basically, the idea here is that this is everything under that dome is the Shattrath we knew from BC. If you remember, you could see the edges of that dome back in BC. So all of our Shattrath, the one we know from Outland, is under there. All that stuff out there, that's the city that used to be, that no longer exists in Outland. Make sense? And so, yeah, this is basically the Silithid zone right here. It's this massive, detailed, well-designed thing that we never touch. And again, we were supposed to originally go in there. That was abandoned, blah, 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 blah. As you can see, the Iron Horde are besieging the area. I kind of already talked about that. Let's talk about the abandoned plot thread. So they were going to do this massive, character-driven, focused, awesome chain throughout all of Talador that was also going to be kind of... So you remember in Pandaria, they did stuff, and this is not the first time they did this, but they would do quests that would arc through zones. Like in Pandaria, we had a single major overarching plot thread that went from Kunlai to Townlong to Dreadwastes, and from Jade Forest to Krasarang to Valley of Four Winds, you know, overall multi-thing. So originally they were going to have this multi-thing here as well, which was going to be Gorgrond to Talador to Nagrand. However, that was going to be very much centered around one character, a very major character in the lore of Warcraft, Orgrim Doomhammer, who is an orc. Why is the fact that he is an orc relevant? Well, one of the big things that they kept getting as feedback in the beta and the alpha was how sick everyone was of the orcs. And they were tired of the orcs, and they had orc fatigue, and they didn't want anything to do with the orcs ever again. And so the dev team decided to abandon the entire overarching plot arc across 3 zones and gutted it out of the game. Now, the funny part is they couldn't get rid of all of it because they'd already done the work on some of it, and it would make some of this completely nonsensical, even though it's close to nonsensical as is. So what we're going to see is the very, the 1/3 point of the Orgrim plot arc, where Orgrim's like, hi. And then we're going to see him one more time, briefly, where he gives a speech, and then we're going to see him suddenly being on our side. And those 3 moments are the only times Orgrim shows up at all. I can't argue that that's a valid complaint, but it still pisses me off. Because at that point, you know, I don't get that complaint personally. I'll go ahead and be blunt. I don't understand orc fatigue. I know a lot of people complain about it. It makes no sense to me personally. I don't understand the orc fatigue thing. To me, the idea here is that I don't see the difference between a human-centric storyline and an orc-centric storyline, if that makes any sense. Yeah, exactly, Stukov. It's even worse on the Alliance side. It's like, I am here, and I'm on your side! Anyways, so that is a complaint I don't understand. I'm not going to say it's invalid. I don't get it. But completely and utterly abandoning a huge chunk of content because people were complaining about it. I got nothing. So anywho, moving on. I know several of my viewers are going to try and convince me that there's too much orc stuff and that it's bad. You're going to fail, okay? I'm just going to tell you right now, you can't convince me because I don't get it, okay? It's not that I disagree with you, it's that I don't understand your point. And people have tried, and they failed. Moving on. So, yeah, this zone got gutted in terms of lore. I actually will have very little to talk about lore-wise in this zone, and that sucks, because there should have been this awesome quest arc involving Orgrim. Let's talk about Orgrim for a little bit. So the Doomhammer, Orgrim was actually named for the Doomhammer. Yes, the Doomhammer is actually a ancestral relic. Basically an artifact, in terms of strength or whatever, in the terms of Warcraft history, and it's something from Draenor. and it has significant elemental power. It's basically a weapon that was crafted by the elementals and gifted at their behest to certain orcs they considered worthy of it, right? Oh, I agree. I'm looking forward to Spires of Eric. Spires of Eric is awesome. Anywho, so look at my busy peons down there. Don't forget to vote, by the way, because as soon as I'm probably going to be finished talking right about the time the poll concludes, and then we'll build our building. Yeah, they also cut Murad's questline for no friggin' reason. Murad and Orgrim were supposed to have this lengthy quest chain throughout this zone, and it was just nope. Orc fatigue. So, words. The, I actually lost my train of thought there. Right, Orgrim. He, there's this short story, it's actually a comic, where Blackhand temporarily takes the Doom Hammer for himself and uses it to forge weapons and to fight against a particularly nasty ogre invasion that's hitting the Blackrocks. But Blackhand only uses it temporarily because it's not actually gifted to him. It's Orgrim's weapon, after all. That's actually also how that's how Blackhand got the name Blackhand, and why he has literal elemental stuff working through him. But I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Yes, synchronized working we've got going on there. Ended in a tie. You gotta be kidding me. You guys are terrible. Come on, give me the result. 7. Do I only have 14 viewers right now? Seriously? Come on, guys. I got a whole new bot just so you could vote easier without doing all that straw poll garbage. Come on. Well, whatever. Pestridden just voted for the Arcane Sanctum, so Arcane Sanctum will win. This zone is probably the worst zone in Draenor, in my opinion. Mostly because it was so gutted, and it is so symptomatic of exactly what Warlord's biggest problem is. The fact that they just didn't support it properly. The fact that they went half-ass on it, and then just abandoned it, and said, nope, we give up. Now, about the orc fatigue thing, I want to say one more thing. I agree with the idea that other races should get more time in the limelight. I would like to see more Worgen stuff. I would like to see more Draenei stuff. I would like to see more... who hasn't really had a lot of screen time? You know, whoever. You know, I don't really want any given race to have more time than any other race. That's not my point. I don't want there to be human supremacy, orc supremacy, or any of that garbage. I like all the races getting basically equal screen time, and it's a shame that they don't. I think that there should have been a lot more Draenei stuff in Warlords, and there wasn't. I really hate to point this out, though, but there really wasn't a lot of orc stuff in Warlords either. There were a lot of orcs, but there were also a lot of Draenei. There wasn't a lot of orc lore any more than there was a lot of Draenei lore. There was a little bit of Draenei lore, and then there was a little bit of the clan lore, and then they kind of abandoned most of the Iron Horde plotline. And you really see that in this zone, because what this zone was supposed to be was the big lead-up... Whoop, wrong screen. The big lead-up to the invasion of Shatrith City by the Iron Horde. And yet that's like nothing. It's like, this zone has almost nothing to do with that other than a single quest chain which goes here. The majority of this zone is about the Arakoa and the demonic invasion and learning about Auchindoun and leading into Spires of Eric and all that stuff. This is what the primary focus of this zone takes. Oh, we also have an entire quest chain about the Gorian Empire. You know? And yes, Vandalia, that is our Murad. So, hell. Hey, Nethrazim. Welcome back. And then, of course, we have the Spires of Eric, which has a little bit of an orc presence over here with the Bladefist clan, or the Shattered Hand clan, excuse me. Yeah, anywho, point being, Talador looks awesome, but it's just really not that well designed. I do not have a list, to hell you with the crap. I couldn't enumerate it. There's too many. There's millions and billions. And yeah, the Shatrith raid would have been awesome. Okay, the vote ended like 2 minutes ago. You were too slow, my friend.
Hey, you're the one in charge, right? Tell your dogs to let me out of this cage.
So this is the guy we help if we do the artillery thing. He's actually a smith of the Blackrock clan, who is very proud of his smithing skills and actually, very much wants to improve our capacity. That's why we get the artillery from him. But we'll be making an Arcane Sanctum because you guys voted for it. I don't think that would be good at all, Adam Suida, but I do think they need to do something similar to that. And I talked about this 2 days ago now. It's the new blood concept. They need new blood in Warcraft. Not just for the sake of Warcraft, but for the sake of the people working on Warcraft. Not every writer out there can write the same story over and over and over. That's not the same setting over and over and over and not get tired of it and not get worn out on it. I mean, if you want an older example, look at Anne McCaffrey. She was absolutely sick of Pern. Fairly relatively in there. Actually, is the one, it was a tie, and then 2 people both voted 1, so one way or the other, it's Arcane Sanctum. Hey, Myron, I swear one of these days I'll actually have that app finished, and then that notification problem will be fixed. Anywho, whoa. Okay. So, yeah. Yeah, I think new blood is something that really should be a thing. For good and for bad. And it's worth noting, and I talked about this the other day too when we were first talking about this, new blood is not necessarily a guarantee of success. It does not automatically mean things get better. But it does mean it's going to be new, and at least it has a chance to stretch out there. Overwatch doesn't really have a plot yet, that is correct. It does have lore. It does have a backstory. I have said before that Overwatch is a great example of the idea that cliches are not necessarily bad, because Overwatch's overall plot is incredibly cliched. It is one of the most cliched stories I've seen in a while, and yet it is so well presented, I'm willing to forgive them that. If that makes sense. If it doesn't, then screw you. It is worthy of note, though, that they have done very little plot-relevant stuff for Overwatch thus far. Hopefully they will do more. So, anywho.
What do you need?
Your will be done. I require your advisement, Commander.
Be safe.
Commander! Your post is nearly fully operational. Gazlo provided us 2 different blueprints to fill the final plot. An arsenal, that's what it's called, or an arcane sanctum. Either one would provide the additional firepower we need to stop the Iron Horde's advance. Well then.
Go forth to victory.
Clearly, we need artillery. In all sincerity, the one I almost always get is artillery. That's like 9 times out of 10 is the one I pick. In fact, I think I've only done Arcane Sanctum once. Technically, I'm the only one in this guild, Vendalia. I made this guild just for the Lorerun. So, technically, yes. Arcane Sanctum. Ta-da. Go, my blood mages. Grant me more power! Oh, wait. Sorry. Got a little carried away there.
Loktar.
Your will be done for the Horde!
May your blades never dull.
Your Arcane Sanctum is coming along nicely, Commander. Everything's built to spec.
Now everybody, listen up! Thanks to our commander, we got a new building up. Now we gotta get this new structure up to snuff pronto, alright? So get to it, yesterday! You won't be needing me. You're in charge after all.
Arcane Sanctum gives you like this arcane bomb ability, which is actually pretty neat. Anyways, everything's built to spec, except for one detail Gazlo scrawled in the bottom of the blueprint. Don't forget to connect the Sanctum to the leyline network. I have no idea how to do that. I'm sorry, Commander. Magic just isn't my thing. We did spot Archmage Khadgar and some Kirin Tor not far from here, to the east, in the mountains. Maybe we should ask them for help?
Strength.
Yeah, the artillery does too, Nethrasium. Changes the ability you get for the zone, along with changes the quest you do.
How you doing, man?
Commander, you should go to
Be
Spires of
careful,
Arak.
Monk.
You're high enough level to go there now, man. You should go there. Okay.
Very well. I'll meet you there. Stay safe.
Ah! Die! Die! Hey, Cadger.
There is much we can learn here.
Ah, so you built an arcane sanctum. Splendid. Troubles connecting it to the ley line network, I take it. It's nice to see someone else taking a vested interest in the arcane arts, you know. It's all too rare these days, if you ask me. Unfortunately, I must meet Cordona in an important manner. But we're in luck. One of my good friends in the Kirin has agreed to help you connect your sanctum to the ley line network. He's waiting at my tower. Let's leave immediately and introduce you to one another.
Keep your guard
I will
up.
introduce you to a friend of mine who can help you with your tower.
Wait up! Ah! You're too fast, Raven. Cadger. This is a neat bit you only get on the Horde right here.
Let us pass, Gatekeeper.
Lady Proudmoore has expressly forbid Horde from entering Kirin grounds.
Then let Jaina take it up with me. I am a member of the Council, and you will let me and my friend pass.
Very well, Archmage. As you wish.
My tower lies just through this pass.
Yes, that's right. We've been on Warlords so long, we've actually built an entire Kirin Tor outpost, including a mage tower. This is pretty much the point at which they officially had abandoned the whole "we're stuck here alone" concept and completely turned it into the new thing.
When you are ready, take this portal down to my tower.
Mage Tower, it looks really cool. And that's your answer, Darker.
My friend is just ahead.
Frost is clearly superior. Give up. A Frost and a Fire Mage there, competing.
Ah, there you are. This is the one I was telling you about.
Splendid. I can take things from here.
Very good. I'm sure I'll be seeing the both of you soon.
So anywho, ley lines don't require a Titan soul. They simply require elemental magic flowing through a world, which most worlds have, so not a big deal here.
Our enemies will fall.
Well, basically the theory to Quota is that it's Atish that is granting Khadgar that ability. I am Magister Krelos, Pyromaniac. It's a pleasure.
Remember the Sunwell.
We're going to need a way to create an artificial nexus at your tower. I know where we can get what we need, but it's heavily protected. We don't have the firepower to just waltz in the front door, but I have a plan. A scroll of mass teleportation. The fungal giants and spore creatures down below are covered in pustules filled with an oily substance. If we gather enough of the oil, I can make a makeshift ink substitute for the oil.
Lorerun.
Actually, I think they're supposed to all be high elves. Pretty sure. For this plan to work, we'll need infused parchment. The latent arcane energy at this nexus quickly froze the ancients in place and settled in their bark. If we rip strips of that haven't been destroyed, I can form them into parchment.
Keep your wits about you.
You mean like everyone else can keep to their decisions, so on? We're at peace. We're at war. We're at peace. We're at war. We need to get our hands on arcane energy to complete our scroll. It needs that fiery kick. I have a device capable of capturing the energy in the space below, so let's get moving. The infused creature shouldn't be a problem for the two of us. I have a small confession to make, by the way.
We will have justice.
I enjoy
burn it up.
Oh, hey, what's up, dude? I enjoy Warlords. I do. I especially enjoy the questing experience of Warlords. But there's one tiny thing that I don't like about Warlords. And that is this zone. And again, I'm trying really hard not to sound too negative, but I was just thinking about this as we were watching these quests, and I remembered that there's one particular point at which I just kind of stall in my leveling experience. If you don't understand what I mean by that, like, I go through Frostfire, and I'm enjoying it, and it's awesome. And I'm going through, Gorgrond, and I'm enjoying it, and it's awesome. And then I get to this zone, and I lose my momentum. You know what I mean? I lose my momentum, and I'm like, and I just have an issue keeping up with the whole experience. And so I actually have 3 characters who are 94 or 95 who are basically stuck in Talador. And yeah. To my knowledge, we don't actually have an answer to that, Z1, so would be my answer. I actually started using the speed level method, and then I got distracted by everything else in the universe. So... I'm serious, I actually plan to push all my characters to 100, and I'm just doing it with the speed level method. Including my last Alliance, who is 94 as well. Yes, that's right, even my Alliance character got stalled in Talador. So anywho, we're going to go ahead and advance the legendary chain slightly. I think. Maybe we're not. We're not going to. We've changed our mind. That's a terrible idea. Right. Wee. Also, you can see the Zanger is starting to grow up here. Just a little bit. Nothing too big. Nothing too severe. Ah, shoot. Ugh, I hate it when I do that. There we go. Lost chat for a second. The ending cutscene is absolutely amazing. It would have been even more amazing if they actually did the lead-up to it. It's... damn it, Blizzard. It's not like you can't do good things. Well, they got tired of the Horde constantly striving for neutrality, Zoan. Cairn, Thrall, Bolgen originally, and technically still. Lorthamar. I guess we should get rid of that because we don't have a poll going on right now. There we go. So I'm getting super distracted because a friend of mine asked for my help in another game, which I pulled up really quick. It's so part of the problem I have with this one, and I put very, very serious thought.
It's odd that these ancient protectors never awakened despite all this mess.
I put very serious thought into skipping Talador entirely. I knew I would be of a level to do so, and I am. I could go straight to Eric right now. I like to go straight to Nagrid right now if I felt like it. So, you know. Actually, Kay, if you remember very, very early on, well, first of all, there's the Paladins, and by the Paladins I mean the Knights, the unit, the Knights. But also, you know, it's like, oh, let's send the horses off. You know, and then they send the horses off.
I was not expecting the arcane energy to be this potent.
I do have an actual horse. I don't on this side because for some reason only the Alliance can actually use horses. So you don't see horses on me overly often because, yeah. I mean, they're just horses. There's nothing special about them. Wouldn't you rather ride on a dragon? No, I know you. There are horses. They're only on the Alliance, though. This would be a great time for guys to ask me questions or whatnot. I really have so little to talk about in
Khadgar
this zone.
speaks highly of you. You have quite the list of accolades.
Yeah, that's great. I've kind of done every expansion up to this point. On this character, no less. Those don't count, Stukov. I guess it's as good a time as any to talk about the companion mechanic. I don't remember what to call that. It's the BioWare thing, you know. Your party, like they did in Tor or in Guild Wars 1. They have the tech to do that now. I've been wondering for some time why they don't implement it. I'm curious if anybody of my viewers have any answers for why you think they don't, or indeed shouldn't, implement the follower mechanic. Oh, Khadgar. Easy answer, Netherzeum. I mean, Jaina's certainly a prodigy and all that, but Khadgar's got a much longer laundry list of accomplishments than she does. And the Kirantor tend to be very backwards and set in their ways and, you know, old school and dumb and stupid and horrible. So, yeah, no, they'd be more inclined towards Khadgar. No thoughts, Zoan. We'll see what they do with it. Death is not an automatic win in writing. You have to do something with it. And that's the important part. God damn it. Hang on. Well, I figured you had that in your retinue there. A retainer? Ah, whatever. Okay, I need one more. Gosh darn it. There we go. Nope, still need the arcane energy. Where's the other one? Did I miss it? I've been kind of spacing here, to be completely honest with you. Yes, all of them, Vandalia. In basically the order that has been presented. Is there one in here? No, it's the one up top. Okay. I'm gonna cheat for a moment because I can fly! Screw terrain. I have flying. The only legitimate answer
we can use these energized mushrooms to our advantage.
I have no idea, Zoan. I mean, I can think of a few ideas, but hey, look, it's this really cool mount. What do you guys think of this mount, by the way? The Druid mount here. It's effectively a new model. I'm not sure if it reuses a skeleton, but it's a new mesh and it's new textures. It feels like it's a new skeleton because it has unique animations. And I will never have it, alas. Oh well.
The dark times will pass.
The giants have many more pustules than the spore bats, but are much rougher. These pustules are sizzling with energy. They'll do nicely.
The reckoning is at hand.
Such clean breaks on each piece. Fantastic.
Farewell.
Oh, excellent. This ought to be just what we need. You are positively on fire. We have everything I need to create the scroll. Your arcane sanctum will be brimming with arcane energy in no time. I will teleport to Vol'jin's Pride to combine the reagents and marshal your forces. Meet me there when you can.
I will go to your outpost to make the scroll. Meet me there when you can.
Only 700 item level. I remind you again, I have less than 700 item level. 730, jeez. Oh hey, he's here now. The Archmage looks damp and uncomfortable. I have a guess, which is...
Be vigilant, friend.
I gotta remember now. July 19th. That's my guess date. But we don't have an actual definitive date on when they're doing the acclimation patch.
Observe and reflect.
I apologize for the conditions here. I had no choice. I summoned this tower at the optimal confluence of arcane energies. And my hope is to finish my work here before all my books get musty. So, let's get to it.
Come back in one piece.
So, we're actually not going to
Azeroth.
do the rest of that for reasons that'll become apparent later. I just kind of wanted to mention how poor Khadgar is very uncomfortable in the damp, wet Zanger here. But this is where the ley lines confluence, apparently. I don't feel like walking out of here. The only legitimate argument I've ever heard for why it is you wouldn't implement a follower system in an MMO is because it would make it less MMO-y. And that, I think, is a valid argument. The idea that it would discourage players from grouping with other players and encourage them to work on their followers instead. And I think that is an absolutely valid criticism and complaint of that.
Keep your weapons hot. You're going to be teleporting straight into hell.
Anaria Shola.
Nethrazim, I hate to point this out, but that's been true since Wrath. That whole, you have to have this item level and it has to be way more than is possible to be in there. Your forces burn with passion for your cause. Not easy against such towering foes. Well done. We've enkindled your forces and the scroll is ready. Time for Phase 2, stealing a Nexus Crystal from a heavily fortified Ogre compound. We'll save the scroll to bring in reinforcements for our confrontation with the Gorduni Witchlord. Let's meet at the base of the Gordai foothills, and make what is more or less rightfully yours.
Farewell.
I will meet you at the base of the fortress.
What are you looking for?
Commander, I'm afraid I have troubling news. The Saberon have followed our encampment from Gargrund, and have been stealing our supplies, ransacking our ledgers, slaughtering our peons! I hate to ask of your time to deal with this matter, but all our men are stationed guarding the camp against any further raids, and we desperately need those supplies, so we may enact your will!
May your blades never dull.
That's a hell of a spin doctoring, isn't it? I hate to ask you to do this pitiful task, but it's the only way we can enact your indomitable will!
What do you need?
And yeah, we're gonna actually ignore those quests.
Talk to me.
Boss, Duratan set off with Draka and Gazlo, track the Iron Horde's movement on the coast. They're waiting for you on the cliffs to the northwest.
Bye-bye now.
I don't know, so on. I've been thinking about your questions, Zoan. I think the whole Jaina thing, there's only two ways they can go with that, in my opinion. That aren't... Well, that's a lie. There's like 50 ways they can go with that. But there's two ways that occur to me that they could go with that. One is her retirement, whether that means she literally retires or she dies or whatever. Two is her officially and formally joining the bad guys. Whether it be the Legion or she actually was an Ethrazim, God forbid, or whatever. And I think those are the most logical reasons to try and pull her off the chessboard. That'd be neat, Jalea, but the problem with that is they would then feel compelled to balance everything around the idea that you're basically doing a 7.5 man, you know what I mean? Each follower being the equivalent of half a player. And so at that point it would become mandatory and wouldn't work as well as it could. I do like that Nethrazim, absolutely. The lore reason was basically we needed to prove that we were not like Garrosh or Admiral What's-Her-Face. In other words, the Pandarans had such massive mistrust of us because the Alliance and the Horde were both stupidly, violently killing each other evil. If they ever... I will forgive them for making Jaina a Dreadlord if they have this big old thing. No, Flipper, I'm not even seeing it for 2 weeks because it's not out for 2 weeks here. So obviously no discussion. I would love it if it's like, oh, I have secretly been a Dreadlord all along. And then she's revealing this to, like, us, and we're with, like, Thrall or whatever, and Thrall's like, but I have been a Dreadlord all along, and it cuts over to Lorthamar, and I am a Dreadlord, and Varian, I am a Dreadlord too, and it cuts to Anduin, I too am a Dreadlord, and they all look at each other for a moment like, so where do we go from here? That's the only way I can forgive that.
What you need?
I've identified some high-value targets down in the forest below. When you get near one, deploy my solution. Deploy it, and the objective will be neutralized with great ceremony.
Yeah. I'll take care of it. Jeez.
What do you need?
The enemy has explosive devices stored on the beach below. We must recover them so they are not used against us. Reports indicate that crates of explosives are scattered on the shoreline. While you search, Duraton and I will carve deeper into Ironhold territory.
Be brave.
All I need is a wolf at my side, and a fellow warrior at my back.
Ah, Velvoxus. I recognized your scent, friend. We've been waiting for your arrival to begin our tasks.
In one another.
Your allies sent us a goblin, Gazlo, to advise us against the Iron Horde. Thus far, he has proven a valuable asset. He has even set up a looking glass and claims we can see a great distance, and he claims even hear. Use this looking glass and report back what you've seen. I will stick to my standard spyglass. Alright, let's use the Gazlo's eye and ear.
You are my vanguard. These shores are ours!
Hey, Orgrim.
Leave no enemy alive! Iron will, iron blood. Go forth to victory!
Hey, Orgrim. Man, it's great to see you here. I can't wait to see the full in-depth levels of your complexity in your character growth throughout this zone. I'm sure it will be an awesome quest chain.
In family, there is power.
Orgrim leads these orcs. Why has he pledged himself to the Iron Horde? By the way, even in this setting, Duraton and Orgrim were friends from a young age. I cannot believe Orgrim would continue to do Blackhand's bidding after the destruction he has wrought. We must confront him. Join me! We will confront my oldest friend.
Stay strong.
And kill some Iron Horde.
Never leave. Draka, make your way to the cave the scouts spotted. I will meet the commander at the coastal village.
Yes, Takoida. This is Orgrim that Orgrimmar is named after. Oh, hey, there's a quest down here. See that? See the... Ah, hey, listen. I'd really like to pick up your quest, Draenei. Oh, no! Yeah, well, crap. I guess I'll just take her boots. I hate to admit this, but I completely was taken in by that when I first saw it. Doing it a second time, it's a little more obvious it's not a real quest. It doesn't show up on the minimap, among a couple of other things. But, yeah, nice bait and switch there, Blizzard. I was like, dude, I get to do a Draenei quest as a horde. Yeah. Right then. So as you can see, the old goblins are hard at work here trying to get on-site procurement for the supplies they need for the continued siege of Shatrith. We must besiege Shatrith. It's the only way. Also, one of the reasons why I say that the Blackrock clan is the backbone of the entire Iron Horde is that the vast majority of the troops we see in the Iron Horde are Blackrock troops. Like, the overwhelming majority of them are Blackrock. Nice, Stukov. I can just imagine that. Da-na-na-na-na, come on. Huh? And you notice here that we've got a single war song leading a group of Blackrock. Gazlo's solution is a walking bomb, by the way. Because of course it is. We have talked about the Iron Stars extensively, yes. In multiple zones, actually. Hey look, for once we're actually capturing supplies rather than destroying them. Holy crap. I'm in shock. One other thing I want to kind of point out, and we'll talk a little bit more later. Oh, here, I'll show you how the arcane bomb works. Zap, 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 zap. That's how the arcane bomb works. See? Any questions? No, they'll probably do it with Sylvanas and Idiot, whose name I can't think of right now. Greymane, or yeah, Greymane. Based on what they're doing. This is the arcane ability you get. As the Horde ability, you get basically the ability to call down artillery. As the arcane ability, you get an arcane bomb that just follows you around, zapping everything near you. It's not actually an arcane bomb, though, so don't mistake. Talador has very nice music and graphics. It's almost as if this is a Blizzard game. And that's kind of the norm. So, this cutscene bugs out on me about half the time. That's not a joke. So... Oh, that's a good point. Where's my... Yeah, okay. So we'll see if we get to see the whole cutscene. I'll describe the bug in a minute, depending on what happens here.
Orgrim! Brother, what have you done, brother? You have allied with enemy invaders, Duratan. You've chosen your side. Can you not see it? The Iron Horde will destroy Draenor. My visions show me otherwise. See reason, old friend. You must stop this lunacy. War is not a time for reason. Lieutenant, deal with them.
But, okay. If I must.
Commander, I will meet you ahead. I must join Draka.
By the way, you notice how you can see the Zanger kind of encroaching throughout the sea there? This ocean right here, the Zanger Sea, is actually what will eventually become Zanger Marsh. I mentioned that all the way back in BC. So, yeah. We got a little tidbit of what Orgrim's plot arc was going to be there. He has been given visions that tell him that it is the invaders from another world which will destroy this world. And that's absolutely true. The invaders from another world will destroy this world. The invaders I'm referring to, of course, are the Legion. And so, the plot arc that Orgrim was going to follow is fairly obvious, even though we only get literally 4 scenes of it, if you want to pull a reel technically there. And it explains why he was willing to join up with the Iron Horde in order to form a unified force to defeat these invaders. In fact, it's the same general reason Raytheon kind of put forth the Iron Horde, despite being a generally positively inclined person. Because again, the Burning Legion trumps everything in their minds. It's just, in Orgrim's case, he didn't know who the invaders actually were. So when he sees invaders come from another world, who are basically stronger than the Iron Horde, despite being weak, having less numbers and less supplies and reinforcements, it's kind of logical for him to assume that we are them. Hey, if Nazgrim can do it, Greymane can do it, so on. Besides, we need more Alliance raid bosses. Ugh, really? With your final act, you want to aggro me. Oh, if that's what you want. It's your funeral. Enjoy. Ugh, really? We just talked about this. You're going to die. Why are you choosing to die like this? And with your last act, you pissed me off. Seriously? Seriously? I'm actually going to skip that quest. There's really no reason to do it. Well, actually, maybe I shouldn't. So as you can see, there's a fallen Draenei defender here, along with a Black Fuse, venture company. That might be a mistake. I don't recall Venture Company helping out the Iron Horde. Get to your shred iron. Your new iron shredders are a menace to your own soldiers. Decommission the prototype and store it in the cave until you've worked out the kinks. I'll send Engineer Drax in to work it out in the meantime. Orgrim. Hey, Error. Oh, I think someone's attacking me, guys. Yeah, I should kill him. Huh. I really, genuinely did not have any memory of the Venture Company working with the Black Fuse Company. That's interesting. Whatever. I'm with it. Apparently the Black Fuse are here too. Good to know. And by the Black Fuse I mean the Venture Company. I mean they fit. Venture Company is exactly as incredibly stupid and foolish and short-sighted enough to say, yeah, I'll join the Iron Horde. You're paying me, right? Okay, yeah, you're paying me. Excellent.
Frostwolf blood runs thick.
We must protect our home.
The orcs themselves are not the only threat. We may have weakened them considerably, but they have siege weapons of significant power. Sabotage the siege weapons, and with the explosives you collected from the beach.
Run with the pack.
We fight together,
Orgrim will not
die alone.
Orgrim will not stop his foolishness, so we must stop him. Nearby, a group of the Iron Horde took a key strategic position with surprising alacrity. They used a machine called the Dread Piston with terrible effect in the siege, and I believe we need to destroy that machine before they can move against before moving against the Iron Horde in Turim.
Run with the pack.
The machines in the Iron Horde are unlike anything I've seen before their arrival.
I'm all yours, Commander.
I always love a good explosion.
Right away.
A prototype iron shredder, huh? Bet we can get this thing working. They didn't have me to fix it. Manual for the shredder was wedged in there, but it's got a lot of missing pages. You gotta get all the shredder pages.
Precision Goblin Engineering.
I hope some of you get that joke. I'm so sorry to those of you who do. And I can't remember which one is which, Kay. But one of them is bad, and the other one is temporarily bad. Really, I don't remember which is which. I usually think of it as mistake is only a mistake until it only becomes an error until you choose to correct it, because that makes sense in my head. But I don't remember which one it's actually supposed to be. Yeah, I showed that off earlier. Magister. If it's the one I'm thinking of. And yes, I took his feet. Her feet. Hey, you okay?
What is this place?
I have gone too far to rescue, but thank you for speaking to me. Blade Master Braylock and his men starve and beat me, but they stole an heirloom that's been in my family since before we arrived on Draenor. Should you find it, please let me see it once more so I may die in peace. Because the Iron Horde just loved starving and beating people because... well, I've actually already answered this question. Cycle of violence. The oppressed become the oppressors. It's very common, even in real life. It's a damn shame, too, but whatever.
These monsters must be stopped.
Thank you. Now that I know it is out of the hands of the Iron Horde, I can die peacefully. He then joins our garrison as an ancestral spirit. Yeah, I know, right? So as you can see, one of the big reasons why the Iron Horde is so successful militarily is because of their armament. Because it's not just the fact that they have a huge army, although they do. They have a huge army which has tons and tons and tons of siege weaponry and tanks and all that fun stuff throughout it. In all sincerity, it's debatable if they would have been able to take Shatruth if we hadn't intervened, both in the previous two instances where we did and when we actually get here. This thing in particular is just a wonderful little thing. It has 2 battering rams built into it for close combat, and it shoots piles of scrap. It is basically designed to shoot whatever it happens to be loaded into it with your standard Iron Star launcher. See you around, Takoida, hopefully. Hi, Bregwin. Again? This again ties into what I consider to be probably the biggest thematic point of Warlords of Draenor. This is our highest moment, technically, or at least it was kind of supposed to be. This expansion's entire point was to show that we, the players and the Alliance and the Horde both, have gotten to the point where we are so strong, where we are so competent, we are so militarily capable, that even fighting a massive, overwhelming enemy like the Iron Horde, we pretty much crush them. We beat them at every turn. At no point are they a credible threat. And for once, I don't think that's an aspect of bad writing, but good, because again, it's a perfect way to show our high. That's very standard writing, actually. Show the main character, show the protagonist succeeding by just by a landslide to show how far they've come, and then you escalate things again and show them a threat that they can't handle, and that's when the stakes are raised again. And that's exactly what we see going to be happening here, because we crush the Iron Horde, and then the Legion shows up and we'll be barely struggling against them. In other words, we'll be barely surviving, and we'll be struggling the whole way against the Legion. It's one of the very few things, I think, was in the overall theme of Warlords that was very coherent and well done. The Iron Horde, for all its might and power, is not actually weak. It is, in fact, very, very strong. It feels weak because we are strong. Make sense? Also, page is done. I need to destroy one more siege weapon. That would have been very cool, Zuan. Ignoring the fact that I like the idea of playable ogres, the Gorian Empire was already one step away from betraying the Iron Horde. They were just waiting for the right opportunity to do so. And yeah, I've talked about this before. Some people have asked me why does the Iron Horde is a threat at all? Why they could compete with us at all, despite being basically 30 years behind. And I'm like, okay, you understand the difference between a unified military force and a disparate political force, right? Azeroth is completely divided, not just on the Horde and the Alliance side. We are completely divided in Azeroth. The Iron Horde, by contrast, is about as unified as it's possible to be. If they had been a little more patient and had actually solidified their control over most of the continent, they probably would have done a lot more damage before we pulled them down. But thankfully they had an idiot to lead them. And an idiot to guide them. So we're going to be doing the quest here in a weird order because Spires of Erech is next. And so we're going to kind of ignore these quest chains down here, which have to do with the lead-in both to the Auchendoon stuff and down into Spires of Erech. So we're going to finish up the Shatrith stuff first, is what I'm trying to say. Hey, Chaos.
So, what's next, Commander?
I don't know why these idiots just don't collect all the pages in one place. A lot of details, almost as if a goblin wrote it.
I'm on it!
Frostwolf blood runs thick.
What can I do? Strength comes from the heart.
Work crew standing by.
Excellent, excellent. I'll make sense of these manual pages and get the Iron Shredder operational immediately. While I do that, take a look to the Iron Ear. That's where you'll be heading soon.
Oh, love it!
Also, Iron Ear. Get it? Hey, it's Orgrim again.
Not long ago, we were orcs of many clans, quibbling over scraps in a world that was ours for the taking. Now, as one clan, no enemy can hope to stand against the Iron Horde! We will crush their bones beneath our boots. We will burn their cities to ash. The Iron Tide washes over them!
That message right there explains a lot of why so many of the clans willingly joined the Iron Horde. The idea of unification, especially given how incredibly, how much internecine fighting happened amongst the clans prior to the Iron Horde, it kind of helps explain it, you know?
Hey, Commander!
The Iron Shredder's operational. Really? I got a ding here? You should be primed and ready for you to shred our enemies and tour them. Head inside, see what damage you can't do. Or see which damage you can do. Can't say I'm not jealous.
Precision Goblin Engineering.
Why does it keep doing that? There we go. So, before we do that, I want to get my ding picture before I forget. I could take it right here. Or I could take it over here. Oh yeah, here we see more of those wonderful Draenei defenses in action. Literally point defenses. Knocking artillery shots out of the sky. Kind of cool, huh? I love the music for over here, too. It was almost amazing. Yeah, now that's a shot. Do I want the ocean or the mountains? Or both? There we go. Oops, right, I need to do this to get back. I weep for what could have been. In all sincerity, I know I've hammered this point a few dozen times, but one of the things that makes me weep the most when it comes to analyzing fiction is seeing what could have been, and knowing that it probably never will be. We will probably never get the full Draenor we could have had. We will probably never get the Voyager we could have had. We will probably never get, and I'll cut off there, so forth and so on, you know. There's so many things that had so much potential, and it will never be now. And that makes me sad. Much more so than the things that are actually bad, you know what I mean? So, now we're inside an Iron Shredder, and I know what you're thinking. Why are these things so significant? Like, why do I even care about these, right? Well, hopefully the next few minutes will elucidate on why that is. Yeah, the real Firefly. The list goes on and on and on, and that's really the shame of it. There's so much we could have had that we didn't. And we never will. And it's that never will part that really gets to me. In some, like, I have talked bad about Star Trek Enterprise more than once. But one of the things I have to remind myself about Star Trek Enterprise is that we actually got more good Enterprise than we should have. We got lucky with Enterprise. We still will never get the full Enterprise show we could have had. Because it was canceled right about when it finally started finding its own voice. But, oh... This thing is basically an electric Dragoon. In fact, If you've ever wondered what an air elemental dragoon would be like in Primus, you're basically looking at it. You notice I'm just standing here, and just by being near things, my electric gizmo is zapping everything nearby. It's great. I love this thing. Again, they've gotten better at these vehicle quests by making it much, much easier to both get around and to destroy enemies without it being aggravating like it was back in, say, Wrath or BC. Now, the cool part about this quest isn't the fact that you get this giant mecha of doom to kill things, believe it or not. Yeah, cool, ain't it, Nerazes? Or, K, rather, not Nerazes, sorry. Let's try that again. There we go. Enemies eliminated. Mother has been detected. Warning. Warning. Vehicle control overridden. Returning to Creator. Let's see how you do when you don't have a machine of my design at your disposal. Oh, crap. And then, this is the cool part. They basically turned those abilities, which we just got rather comfortable with, against us. And now we get to see what it's like on the other end of things. That's what I like about this quest. They give you an awesome vehicle, and then they turn it against you. Correct, Magister. Gotcha. I don't know who you're talking about, Kay, but there is Tritalk here. You know who Tritalk is, right? Whoop, thing in my way. There we go.
We fight together, or die alone.
Gazlo has been invaluable in securing Talador. Now it's up to us.
Never leave a wolf behind.
We have the Iron Horde backed into a corner now, thanks to you. It's almost time to enter the city of Shatrath and repel them. First meet Khadgar and his new allies.
In one another, we find strength.
Come on, Khadgar isn't far from here. Yeah, I know, Kay. I'm just going through the motions. I will always think of him as Tritalk. Not just because I can't pronounce Vali... but because that's how I grew up. You know how I am with names. So, as you can see, the quest arc that Murad should have had and Yirel should have had are gone, and it's just all of a sudden, alright, let's go after Shatrath. In fact, you can really tell how much this quest arc was just shrunk and chopped off. Again, the cut content thing. Because literally, this is just the one quest arc. We go up here, we fight Orgrim, we'll beat the Iron Horde, and we're at Shatrath. We are already at the Siege of Shatrath now. I'm going to show this off first. Now, this is an awesome cutscene that's coming, and some awesome events that are coming. But damn it! See you around, Zuan.
We will find a way through this.
You've done great work with Duratan, Draka, and Gazlo, and Yirel and Marad.
Keep your guard up.
Yeah, it's very few, Darker. To stop the Iron Horde, we must overcome prejudice and work together. Horde, Alliance, past, presence, all are meaningless in the face of this enemy. Yeah, I've been kind of saying that for about 10 years now, Khadgar. You're preaching to the choir here. We will retake Shatrath together, or die trying.
When you are ready, we will follow you into Shatrath.
Okay.
Knowledge is power.
Loktar Ogar, champion. All I need is a wolf at my side, and a fellow warrior at my back.
So this is pretty much the one and only scenario that's effectively a real scenario in this, not counting the other scenarios, which are the fake scenarios. Okay, that's a lie. That's not really true. But this is just... I mentioned how there weren't really scenarios in Warlords, and these are what the scenarios take place of. They're all solo only, basically. Lol, Brigman. So it's okay. We've found something here.
Work crew standing by.
Commander, check this thing out. We found an iron star, and Thalen over there has helped me been getting it fully operational. I think it's time for action, if you want to give it a test roll. Cadger and the others said they meet you at the entrance to the harbor. Okay.
Yeah, I'll take care of it.
The best part is, killing these guys is totally optional. You don't have to do this. There's no bonus or benefit whatsoever for killing all these troops. This scenario right here really makes me think how amazing this arc would have been if they'd kept both Murad and Orgrim's quests and their arcs in Talador. Because this is a pretty epic conclusion. It starts off like this, for God's sakes. Oh. Damn. Why would you need a cockpit, Darker? Aim in a direction and kill everything. Whoops. There we go. Hey look! Yrel and Murad are actually green, like they should be. We now must face the Iron Horde fleet, which is only 3 ships here, but they're all the super dreadnoughts. They have a powerful weapon aboard a battleship just off the coast. I know a spell that can clear the way, but it'll take all my focus to channel it. During my incantation, I will be vulnerable. It will be up to you and our allies to protect us.
Be vigilant,
For
friend.
Shatrath!
I can clear the way to the flagship. Hold off these invaders while I finish my spell.
Steel yourselves.
Once again, participation here is actually kind of optional.
Show them no mercy.
These guys will actually hold the line pretty well by themselves, which is nice. It's a nice switch from the NPCs being completely useless and you having to drag them through everything, you know?
Keep your guard up.
You notice Yrel is now wearing her new paladin-y armor, because she had a couple of additional steps in her character arc in Gorgon that I referenced, so, you know. She has continued to grow as a character and as a hero.
We cannot hold for much longer.
Yeah, we can. What are you talking about? We got this.
We must give the wizard more time. Hold the line.
Hold the line. Oh, sorry. Wrong game.
It is finished. I must rest a moment. The flagship is up ahead. I will join you there once I regain my energy.
Draka, join the Draenei in searching for any survivors.
Of course.
Forward! This super weapon is on one of these ships. Follow me!
You got it, Murad. By the way, once again, Khadgar basically just casts the same spells we have access to, just a more fancy version of it. That's the time stop thing, if you're wondering. So there's Blackhand himself, and Orgrim.
I will not slay so many innocent people. Innocent? It is you who would make Draenor burn. It is you who must be stopped.
Suddenly he's on our side.
Yes, I will see Draenor burn. You, traitor, will not.
And
We will
Orgrim's dead.
hold off Blackhand. Destroy that weapon.
Seriously, Orgrim's dead.
Champion, speak with me when you are ready to travel to the enemy battleship.
I think it's awesome that they're really pushing the tech in a new direction, Kensington. And I will be purchasing one of them in some distant future when money is no longer an issue, which it is and will be for an unknown period of time. Let me just go ahead and say that I actually really like this Blackhand a lot. Some people were complaining because Blackhand was always portrayed as an idiot in our continuity. You know, a dull-headed oaf who couldn't rub two brain cells together to save his life, and was a complete puppet underneath Gul'dan. I like this Black Hand better. He's still evil, and he is in fact kind of stupidly evil, in that his overall goal is basically screw everyone. Let's make it all burn. But he still has more nuance to him, and again, he is effectively the puppet master behind the Iron Horde.
Observe and reflect.
He has also got a really cool weapon, and yes, that is literally elemental fire in his armor. So the actual super weapon is that massive cannon there.
Don't let this nuisance anywhere near the cannon!
It's funny because Black Hand's most commonly quoted trait in his backstory is his tactical prowess, the strategist, you know. We don't really see a lot of that, but then again, he does have a fair amount of he's very good at leading a military tactics.
Well then, I'll just have to end this myself.
As opposed to, say, strategic tactics, if that makes sense. I'll discuss that more when we get to the Foundry. And no, that is quite literal, Formosan. Black Hand is pretty unrepentantly evil.
They need your help with Black Hand. I can get you there. Speak with me when you're ready. We will find a way through this.
Let's do it. Let's go fight Black Hand. I can solo this fight. At 110. So as you can see, it's Marad, Orgrim, Duraton, and Yidel all against Black Hand. And Orgrim's dead. He's got 40 million health. It's okay, we got this, guys.
Didn't anyone ever tell you not to play with fire?
It's over. No one could have survived that.
This vessel is set to blow. We should get to safety.
Bring the cannon around. We'll send both of these ships to the bottom of the sea.
Nice touch, by the way. Hand of protection.
In the light, we are one. I see now. You never belonged with us, Dorotan. Our bond is iron.
Remember, that is burning steel.
But you are so easily broken. What do you want, little girl?
Your head.
Cannon is in position. On your command.
Prepare to fire.
Such arrogance to believe that you alone could defeat me.
Together.
Wait! They're alive!
I've got them.
You will all die!
Just you.
So yeah, very awesome cutscene. I hope you I hope you noticed the symbolism of the fact that the orc was wielding the Draenei's weapon while the Draenei was wielding the orc's weapon, and together they actually managed to make Blackhand's dagger. Correct, Kay. I was also going to point out that for once that's actually not a degree of inconsistency. The fact that one shot of that Iron Star fusion cannon completely devastated an entire dreadnought. That is very in lore. Those things hit like hell. And both Orgrim and Murad die. Now, I feel this would have had a way more impact if they'd actually left in Murad's character arc through Talador and Orgrim's character arc through Talador. As is, it's like, I know several people who are like, wait, why did Orgrim die? And why did Murad, I mean, he just showed up, and why did he, both of those were kind of pat. But I will not blame the cutscene for those, because the cutscene was awesome, and you could tell the cutscene was written with the original arcs in mind. And that makes sense because they tend to work on that stuff well in advance of them actually making the game. We've actually talked about that before, about how several of the cutscenes reference original content in Warlords that was then cut. And yeah, I heap nothing but praise on Blizzard's directing team. Really, I do. Audio-visual, absolutely. And Yirel was awesome in that scene. I know y'all are going to hate me for saying this, but I really hope we see Yirel in the future. I really do. For God's sakes, make Draenor matter in some way other than Gul'dan. Pull this stuff into the thing. Have a unified Draenor and Azeroth fight against the Legion. Come on, you could do it. The door's there. We'll see.
Welcome, friend of the Frostwolves.
I cannot believe Orgrim is truly dead. Yeah, me neither. Blackhand has carved a hole in my heart, and I intend to destroy him when the opportunity presents itself.
Make us proud.
I know, Darker. That's a good cutoff point for right now. I'm gonna take a brief break to get some food in me, and cut off the local recording because we're over our 3-hour cap right now, as usual. Don't worry, I will be back shortly. Like I said, this is a full day. And we're going to finish up Talador and the main quest arcs of Talador, which have to do with the Arakoa and the Legion. And, yeah, so I'll see you guys in a bit. Oh, right.